Chapter 1277. What about Lu Qianhe's strength? Ningqing asked in a deep voice. Even if they were both in the world creation realm, there would still be differences in strength. He had offended a powerhouse who might have a good fortune treasure, so he had to be careful. Perhaps that expert wouldn't look for him over such a small matter, but what if that expert came looking for him? Only when one's own strength was strong would it be the hard truth. Min Husheng decided to befriend Ningqing and told him everything he knew. Lu Qianhe is from one of the 7 major forces in heavens beyond of heaven and earth. He's also a creation realm expert. Of course, from the looks of it now, this creation realm might very well be fake. As for his strength, he had once fought with Rizasi, and Rizasi had lost. As for me, I'm no match for Lu Qianhe. Ningqing's heart sank. His current cultivation level was infinitely close to the mid-stage primordial chaos realm, but in terms of strength, he was still weaker than Lu Saishi. Even Min Husheng in front of him was probably slightly stronger than him. A mid-stage primordial chaos expert had been able to kill Lu Qianhe, or even kill him directly. This kind of strength was not weaker than his. Even if he advanced to the mid-stage primordial chaos, he was afraid that he would not be able to kill Lu Saishi for sure. Defeating an expert like Rizasi and killing an expert like Rizasi were 2 completely different things. What is the cultivation of the sacred Dao sect leader Yi now? Since the young man he was teaching a lesson to was the descendant of such an expert, he had to be prepared. He should be a perfected primordial chaos expert, answered Min Husheng. Ningqing frowned slightly. Since you're a perfected primordial chaos cultivator, why don't you reach Dao integration? There shouldn't be any problems for such a powerful being to Dao integration, right? If he really did possess a creation treasure, it should be very easy for him to reach Dao integration. Min Husheng shook his head. My guess is that it's not that he can't fuse with the Dao, but he's unwilling to do so. However, Dao-friendly man thinks that he can't fuse with the Dao. Back then we also gathered with him. He once pointed out that all the Dao integration sacred emperors in heavens beyond had integrated a fake Dao. The real Dao integration was to integrate one's own Dao instead of borrowing external forces. Although he did not say something, we all understand that the 3rd step of the heavens beyond of heaven and earth is also a fake realm. This was not difficult to guess. Dao integration was fake, so it would be strange if he could really reach the 3rd step. When Min Husheng said this, he sighed. Originally, we all thought that he was saying this on purpose to attack our Dao marks. After crossing the Jiaoliang mountain, having seen many scenes and even feeling the axe line's killing intent that killed Dao monarch formless, I think that what he said should be the truth. Ningqing remained silent. In fact, he had thought about using the mysterious yellow bead to attain Dao unification. Later, with the improvement of his cultivation, he vaguely felt that the mysterious yellow bead was his own world. He could use the mysterious yellow bead to attain Dao unification, and even reach the 3rd step. However, this kind of Dao integration and the 3rd step were not peak experts. This thought had always been vague, but now that Min Husheng said this, it made this vague thought a little clearer. Moreover, a trace of Ji Fengyu's primordial spirit had warned him that he would not be able to reach the 3rd step, saying that his Dao heart was damaged. Even if he had the mysterious yellow bead, he would not be able to take the 3rd step. Even if he used the mysterious yellow bead to attain Dao unification, he might not be the strongest expert. If his Dao heart was damaged, he feared that others would think that he was a fake Dao unification cultivator, and would eventually form a false boundary. According to Min Husheng's words and his own speculations, Sect Master Yi might be able to attain Dao unification, and step into the 3rd step. Perhaps he really did not want to attain Dao unification casually, and then step into the 3rd step casually. Sect Master Yi might come to settle accounts with him in the future. If he could not attain the strongest Dao unification, it would truly be dangerous. Seeing Ningqing not speaking, Min Husheng sighed again. Only an expert like Dao monarch formless is a true 3rd step expert. Ningqing's heart suddenly surged with a firm resolution. Since he had chosen to cultivate Dao, he had to prove the strongest Dao. He would never casually use external forces to attain Dao unification. Only when his heart truly wanted to attain Dao unification would he firmly not pursue Dao unification. Dao friend Min, I'm afraid that what you said is wrong. Perhaps Tao Monarch Formless is a true third-step expert. Otherwise, he would not have been able to step into the realm integration realm. I don't think he had attained the true Tao unification. Otherwise, a realm integration expert would not have been killed by an axe line. The one who blasted out that axe line was a true third-step expert, Ningqing said with a solemn tone. Min Husheng spoke up in doubt. According to Tao Monarch Formless' message, Tao Monarch Formless' death wasn't due to the axe line's killing intent. After Tao Monarch Formless was struck by the axe line's killing intent, someone plotted against him. Ningqing did not think that Tao Monarch Formless had died from a ploy. Therefore, he did not intend to discuss this matter with Min Husheng. Instead, he took out a jade box and raised his hand to send out a gentle force that sent all the cracked bones of Tao Monarch Formless into the jade box. Only then did he seal the jade box. I obtained a cultivation method left behind by Tao Monarch Formless, so it's only right for me to clean up after him. By the way, Tao friend Min, do you know the names of the realm integration Tao monarchs of the 5 great realms, apart from Tao Monarch Formless? Ningqing asked while raising his hand to send out a spirit essence blade light. He intended to bury Tao Monarch Formless in place. Min Husheng pondered for a moment before replying. I know that the Tao Monarch of the Grand Essence realm is called Tao Monarch Earth, while the Tao Monarch of the Grand Beginning realm is called Tao Monarch Longevity Sky. I don't know much about the others. With a boom, Ningqing directly split open a crack in the room and sent Tao Monarch Formless remains into it. Then he raised his hand to close the crack. He remembered Yin Xingwen, who was the realm lord of the Grand Change realm. Thinking that the Grand Change realm was the place where Tao Monarch Formless merged, Ningqing shook his head. Yin Xingwen, the realm lord, was too insignificant. The Grand Change realm's laws were complete, but it was only relative to the third step. Tao unification could be achieved in the Grand Change realm, but to reach the third step here, there was only one word to describe it. Difficult. Tao charm writings. Min Husheng exclaimed softly. When Ningqing closed the crack on Tao Monarch Formless remains, a row of illusory Tao charm writings suddenly appeared above the crack. At the beginning of the primordial chaos, the vast universe was formed, and countless powerhouses were born. So what if you reached the third step? The number of powerhouses in the vast universe could be counted on one hand, and the rest were all ants. Sai I Shaowen thought that Tao Monarch Formless, could not compare to someone's axe line. As the writing slowly faded, Ningqing and Min Husheng didn't want to speak anymore. Min Husheng didn't speak because he felt a sense of frustration in his heart. Even a true third-step powerhouse like Tao Monarch Formless, who was also a realm monarch, considered himself an ant. Then what was he, Min Husheng? He was probably not even as good as an ant. Ningqing didn't speak because he thought that there were probably 5 people with good fortune treasures, and he was one of them. No matter how strong he was, there were still 4 people as strong as him in the world. Fortunately, the good fortune indestructible axe had shattered, so there should only be 3 people left. Ningqing then thought of the altar of Forefathers library. Since someone used the altar of Forefathers library to absorb and fuse the fragments of the indestructible axe from the vast universe, would someone else do the same? Just because the altar of Forefathers library couldn't succeed, didn't mean that others couldn't succeed. In the vast universe, anything was possible. Thinking of this, Ningqing couldn't stay any longer. He had to detoxify the poison as soon as possible, and find a way to reach Tao unification as soon as possible. As for repairing the Grand Essence realm, he would have to wait until his strength could compare to Tao Monarch Formless. If he managed to repair the Grand Tao Monarch, he would die. Tao friend Min, I'll see you later. Ningqing decided to leave and naturally didn't want to waste any time. Min Husheng spoke up absent-mindedly. Okay, see you later. He wanted to make friends with Ningqing, but now he realized that he wasn't even as good as an ant. Feeling lost, he even forgot to invite Ningqing to his residence. As soon as Ningqing came out, he immediately brought out the starry sky wheel and rushed out of the Jiaoliang Sea as fast as he could. All the cultivators who crossed the Jiaoliang mountain thought that the Jiaoliang Sea was the least dangerous. Although Ningqing thought that the Jiaoliang Sea wasn't as safe as it seemed on the surface, he didn't encounter any danger in the Jiaoliang Sea. Not only did he not encounter any danger, but he also easily obtained the illusory sea-crossing crystal. Boom! Just as Ningcheng was about to rush out of the Jiaoyang Sea, a Dao charm killing intent tore through the sky and slammed down towards Ningcheng. The surging Dao charm felt like the sky had suddenly shattered. The seawater that had been taken away from the Jiaoyang Sea suddenly poured down and tore through the entire space. This terrifying killing intent felt familiar. Ningcheng immediately realized that it was the same as the axe line killing intent he felt in the house where Dao Monarch Formless fell. It's just that this axe line killing intent was more than 10,000 times stronger than the one left in Dao Monarch Formless' house. Under this terrifying axe line killing intent, Ningcheng found it hard to even breathe. He wanted to bring out the Good Fortune Divine Spear to block this killing intent that tore through the sky. But the space around him was dominated by the killing power of this axe line. At this moment, he could only wait for death. Gotcha! The killing intent hadn't even fallen when Ningcheng's starry sky wheel's restrictions shattered under the suppression of this terrifying killing intent. Space shattered, time disappeared, laws collapsed, and Dao charm dissipated. The only thing that shrouded Ningcheng was death. It was a will that made people surrender even before death. Under this powerful killing intent of death, anyone could only feel their own insignificance. Anyone could see their own death in the next moment. Unlike others, Ningcheng could burn his own Dao charm and lifespan to forcibly enter the mysterious yellow bead and avoid this killing intent. However, a voice from the bottom of Ningcheng's heart told him that if he avoided this powerful killing intent, he would never be able to surpass the powerhouse who left behind this killing intent. It would leave a permanent mark in the depths of his heart. The next time he encountered this killing intent, he would still have to surrender and hide. He would never be able to become that kind of supreme powerhouse, the kind of person who could dictate his own destiny. Chapter 1278. Although he knew that he should forcibly resist this axe line's killing intent, but Ningcheng had a premonition that he was afraid that he would not be able to block this terrifying axe line's killing intent. Compared to Dao confirming supreme powerhouses, Ningcheng preferred to survive. If he couldn't even survive, how could he talk about being a supreme expert? Ningcheng started burning his own vitality and Dao charm. He was well prepared. If he could not block this terrifying axe trace, then he would immediately enter the mysterious yellow bead. Crack! Ningcheng's domain directly turned into nothingness under this trace. No, this axe line's killing intent was far beyond his understanding. At the same time that his domain broke apart, Ningcheng knew that he would not be able to block it. Entering the mysterious yellow bead. This was the only thought in Ningcheng's mind. But then he discovered that even if he burned his life essence, he would not be able to move even a little bit. All the surrounding space was completely shackled by the axe line's killing intent, as it turned into a complete imprisonment space. In this Dao rune imprisonment space, he could only feel the aura of death. Regardless of whether it was his divine essence or divine consciousness, he couldn't move at all. Even if it was his own mysterious yellow bead, he could not enter it. This axe line's killing intent was too sudden. Whether it was the everlasting Blue Thunder City or any other magical weapon, none of them were able to bring it out. The disparity in strength was simply too great. The axe line's Dao charm's killing intent slammed into Ningcheng's body without any hindrance. Ningcheng's heart sank as he recalled the fallen invisible Dao monarch. Was he going to suffer the same fate as the invisible Dao monarch? Even an expert like invisible Dao monarch was unable to block the axe line's killing intent. So how could he, a primordial chaos holy emperor, block it? When this invisible axe line killing intent broke through Ningcheng's domain and penetrated into Ningcheng's body, Ningcheng immediately felt an unstoppable aura of death. The majestic Dao charm aura permeated into Ningcheng's body, and Ningcheng's imprisoned body felt a vast, tyrannical killing intent from ancient times. It was a supreme will. Under such a will, all obstacles could only be reduced to ashes and disappear. The great Tao of heaven and earth, the source of the universe. All of the aura of the laws was reflected in this axe line's killing intent, which was extremely incisive. This killing intent brought with it an aura of death, and Ningcheng unexpectedly felt that it was filled with life force. However, this life force was not for him, but for the powerhouse who had sent out this axe line filled with killing intent. As this killing intent seeped into Ningcheng's body, even Ningcheng's powerful body-forging corporeal body withered in an instant. What a powerful heaven and earth Tao law! So this is the spiritual technique of a real powerhouse. Ningcheng muttered to himself. He knew that he was about to die. He was well aware that he could not be like invisible Tao monarch. Facing such a terrifying axe-line killing intent, he could still persist. At this moment, he actually calmed down. He had nowhere to hide and could only take it head-on. From leaving Earth, to the graceful star mainland, to the vast starry sky, and then to the primal chaos void universe flashed in Ningcheng's mind. Family, friends, lovers, great Tao, survival, pursuit. Gee! Another soft sound rang out in Ningcheng's consciousness, and Ningcheng's body suddenly felt light. At this moment, he could no longer feel the Saha adversity poison. Under the inexhaustible and majestic axe-line killing intent, the salvation distress poison was directly turned into nothingness. The moment the salvation distress poison turned into nothingness, Ningcheng understood in his heart that the ultimate end of death was not death, but life. There was no such thing as the 10 great poisons in the primal chaos universe. The reason why they existed was because they did not surpass the laws of the universe. Once the laws of the universe were surpassed, any poison would just turn into an illusion. The axe-line killing intent that fell on his body was only a remnant mark, but it was because this axe-line killing intent surpassed the laws of the universe. Therefore, when this killing intent penetrated his body, the salvation distress poison directly turned into nothingness. Ningcheng felt a little self-deprecating in his heart. He had just found the antidote to the salvation distress poison, and was preparing to refine a Tao detoxification pill. He did not expect that this axe-line killing intent would so easily detoxify the poison in his body. Unfortunately, although this killing intent eliminated the salvation distress poison in his body, it would not leave him alive. While Ningcheng was enlightened, boom, the aura of the heaven and earth Tao charm merged into Ningcheng's great Tao. The shattered aura of the Tao charm once again condensed around Ningcheng's body. Even if Ningcheng was imprisoned at this moment, he could feel his strength rising, and his great Tao becoming more solid. Middle stage primordial chaos. Ningcheng took in a deep breath. This was the first time he felt that he had reached the middle stage primordial chaos realm so easily. However, the powerful axe-line killing intent still tore at his body. Even if he advanced to the middle stage primordial chaos realm, it could not change his fate of being killed by this horrifying axe-line killing intent. Perhaps one could die without regrets in the evening after hearing the Tao in the morning. Ningcheng took in a deep breath and simply did not think about anything. Compared to ordinary people, he did not have a short life. So what if he obtained the mysterious yellow bead? He was not the only one who died after obtaining the mysterious yellow bead. He was not the first to obtain the mysterious yellow bead, nor would he necessarily be the last. The starry sky wheel had already fallen into the Jiaoliang Sea. Ningcheng stood on the starry sky wheel with his eyes closed, just like a stone statue. After he advanced to the middle stage primordial chaos realm, the traces of the Tao charm that had solidified once again dissipated and disappeared due to the killing intent. Ningcheng did not move. He could clearly feel his bones gradually being eroded by the axe-line killing intent. Perhaps after a period of time, he would end up like that Tao monarch formless. No, after Tao monarch formless fell, he would only leave behind a pile of ashes. But after he fell, he feared that apart from the mysterious yellow bead, he would not leave anything behind. Boom! Ningcheng's entire sea of consciousness trembled. Ningcheng suddenly opened his eyes, feeling a kind of emotion welling up in his heart. The everlasting Blue Thunder City's artifact spirit had not yet recovered, but at this time, it took the initiative to stand up against this horrifying axe-line killing intent. Unfortunately, although the everlasting Blue Thunder City's artifact spirit had a high level, without Ningcheng's help, it could not block this axe-line killing intent. The everlasting Blue Thunder City's artifact spirit only managed to block it for a breath of time before it gave out a shrill scream, and no longer showed any signs of life. The celestial river flames fire spirit, like Ningcheng, was suppressed and could not even budge. As the everlasting Blue Thunder City's artifact spirit screamed, Ningcheng's heart surged with a monstrous anger. He had just found the everlasting Blue Thunder City's artifact spirit, and had not yet fully recovered, when this axe-line killing intent blasted it to the point of death. Moreover, it was for him. The angry and violent will cause Ningcheng to burn his longevity and Dao charm at a crazy speed. The next moment, Ningcheng unexpectedly stretched out his spiritual consciousness. After stretching out his spiritual consciousness, Ningcheng did not immediately hide in the mysterious yellow bead. Instead, he crazily brought out the Good Fortune Divine Spear, and shot out a spear. Boom boom boom. The Good Fortune Divine Spear's spear intent exploded on top of the axe-line killing intent, causing the violent heavenly Dao laws to explode. A crack appeared in the middle of the axe-line killing intent. Ningcheng took a step out of the crack, causing the axe-line killing intent to lose its target, and explode on the seabed of the Jiaoliang seabed. A horrifying deep ravine appeared on the seabed of the Jiaoliang seabed, surrounded by the axe-line killing intent. The gray-haired Ningcheng tightly grasped the Good Fortune Divine Spear, and stood in the void outside the deep ravine, surrounded by the killing intent. He looked up at the void and spoke word by word. If I, Ningcheng, do not die, I will pay you back double in the future. This axe-line killing intent definitely did not descend by chance. Ningcheng was sure that anyone who entered the Jiaoliang Sea would have to bear this axe-line killing intent, if they wanted to come out of the Jiaoliang Sea. In other words, once you entered this place, you would never be able to get out. How could Ningcheng believe that such a method was not artificially arranged? Ningcheng did not turn back. He was currently far from being an opponent of this axe-line killing intent. The anger and burning from a moment ago had almost drained his life force. Although he managed to break free from this axe-line, and was killed on the spot, he was just like invisible Dao Monarch. He could only find a place to wait for death. The terrifying axe-line killing intent within his body, not to mention that he was only at the middle stage primordial chaos. Even if he advanced to the third step, it would not be easy to get rid of it. If it were so easy to get rid of it, then invisible Dao Monarch would not have fallen in the Northern Prince Mansion. Because Ningcheng managed to block this majestic axe-line killing intent, the Starry Sky will only manage to break the restriction. Ningcheng brought out the Starry Sky wheel and quickly flew away from the Jiaoliang Sea. Under this axe-line killing intent that could devour the heavens and split the earth, although he did not die directly, it was not much different from dying. The exhaustion of one's life force was not something that could be made up for by relying on Dao pills. He could no longer go to the mysterious yellow heavens beyond. Now he had to rush back to the Grand Essence realm in the shortest time possible, and tell Luofei and the others about this matter. Then he had to find a place to find a chance of survival. 2 years later, Ningcheng stopped in a void far away from the Jiaoliang mountain. He knew this place. It used to be a planet with countless fallen trees on it. These fallen trees formed a temple, which people eventually called Falling Wood Temple. In this place he saved Tian Muwen and the blue-robed girl. In this place he obtained the last half of the mysterious yellow bead, the Wood Origin bead. Now the Falling Wood Temple no longer existed, only an empty void. Ningcheng sighed slightly. It wasn't that he didn't want to continue, but he couldn't return to the Grand Essence realm. Under the powerful axe-line killing intent, holding on for 2 years was already his limit. If not for the true essence of the universe, he might not have been able to hold on for 2 years. Just when Ningcheng was about to call an Yi and a Li out, and let them return to the Grand Essence realm, a void airship quickly flew over. The people on the void airship shifted their gaze from the Starry Sky wheel to Ningcheng, and exclaimed in surprise. Apparently they recognized Ningcheng. Aokin, why are you still here? Ningcheng also felt surprised. Although Aokin had snatched the auction, Ningcheng still appreciated his character. Because of this he saved Aokin's life. You're my big brother? Aokin blurted out, with shock and disbelief in his tone. Ningcheng was his big brother, and he had seen Ningcheng's strength with his own eyes. But at this time, Ningcheng's life force had dissipated. How was this possible? Ningcheng sighed and didn't ask about Aokin. Instead he said, Brother Ao, something happened to me. I have 2 friends with me, and I want you to help me take them to the Grand Essence Mountain in the Grand Essence Realm. Chapter 1279. Who did it? Aokin asked angrily. Ningcheng was not only his life-saving benefactor. If not for Ningcheng's deterioration, he would not have been able to fulfill his filial duties. Since he had already recognized Ningcheng as his big brother, then he naturally had to help his big brother. Ningcheng patted Aokin on the shoulder. I can deal with those creation realm experts in heavens beyond now, but I can't do anything to that person. If you want to help me, wait for me to come back. Believe me, I will definitely come back. With that, Ningcheng directly called out an Yi and a Li, who were still in seclusion. He had told Aokin that he would definitely be able to return, but in reality, he himself wasn't sure if he could. As for the mysterious yellow bead, Ningcheng did not give it to anyone else. If he fell, and the mysterious yellow bead was handed over to an Yi or the people around him, it would only be harming them. Big brother Ning, your vitality. An Yi came out and stared at Ningcheng. Her face was filled with disbelief. With her strength, she could naturally see that Ningcheng's life force was fading away. Ali also covered her mouth in disbelief as she looked at the decline of Ning City. Master, what's going on? Ningcheng said to the two people. Don't worry about me, I have a way to save myself. This is Aokin. Follow Aokin back to the Grand Essence Mountain for secluded cultivation. That place is my territory. One day, I will come back for you. When you go back and see Luofei and Ruolin, don't tell them about my situation. Otherwise, they will worry about me and it will be detrimental to their cultivation. Only Ningcheng knew in his heart that the dissipation of his life force was just a superficial phenomenon. His life force was something that he had burned out on his own. Even if he was currently full of vitality, he would still be slowly ground to death by the axe line's killing intent. What really wanted to kill him was not the dissipation of his vitality, but the axe line's killing intent. Yes, big brother Ning, you will certainly be fine. Annie quickly calmed down. She was very clear about Ningcheng's abilities. The dissipation of vitality was not a big deal for Ningcheng. Big brother, I will send them to the Grand Su Mountain to find you. Aokin immediately said. Ningcheng waved his hand. You don't have to come to me. Just stay in the Grand Essence Mountain and protect it. When I'm better, I'll come back on my own. Ningcheng didn't worry about the safety of the Grand Essence Mountain. The Grand Essence Mountain had too many powerhouses. Plus, with Aokin there, it would definitely become the most powerful place in the Grand Essence realm. What's more, Li Feng was very supportive of him. Watching Aokin leave with an E and a Li, Ningcheng controlled the starry sky wheel to change directions and entered the endless void. The erosion of the axe line's killing intent was getting stronger and stronger, to the point that Ningcheng almost fell into unconsciousness. A month later, Ningcheng controlled the starry sky wheel to land on an uninhabited planet. The axe line's killing intent within his body was becoming more and more difficult to control. If he continued on like this, then perhaps he might even end up in the void. After putting away the starry sky wheel, Ningcheng took out a ring and put some low-level and commonly used items into the ring. After putting the ring on his finger, his entire body penetrated into the planet. The reason why Ningcheng did this was that he still had one last hope, the recalling Bodhi seed. Ningcheng had never used this Bodhi seed. The life essence under the perpetual moon abyss had said that his Tao heart had a scar. Looking back at the Bodhi seed, it could help him find the third step. Now he hadn't even reached the Tao unification realm. Yet that axe line's killing intent had blasted into his Tao sense. Ningcheng vaguely felt that this recalling Bodhi seed could help him. But because he had never tried it before, he wasn't sure about it. Therefore he came to the void alone. If he really died, Luofei and Ruolin wouldn't know about it. If they saw him die with their own eyes, it would definitely affect their Tao hearts. Ningcheng took out the recalling Bodhi seed and placed it in his hand. It looked gray and didn't give off any aura of Tao charm or any trace of laws. Ningcheng had only heard about the recalling Bodhi seed from the mouth of the life essence. Even if he had read about the universe vegetation before, he couldn't find any information about the recalling Bodhi seed. Although he held this Bodhi seed in his hand, Ningcheng didn't know how to use it. Even his spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate this Bodhi seed. So Ningcheng guessed that it wasn't for consumption. He even suspected that the life essence who traded the recalling Bodhi seed to him would use this thing. Ningcheng could only hold the Bodhi seed tightly, and use his own will to feel it. In the beginning, Ningcheng still wanted to force his thoughts into the recalling Bodhi seed. But soon, Ningcheng completely lost himself in the recalling Bodhi seed. It turned into a faint gray ripple-like halo around him. And this gray ripple-like halo completely covered Ningcheng. Strands of life aura and Grand Tao aura started to revolve around Ningcheng's body, causing Ningcheng to feel the terrifying and majestic axe-line killing intent within his body to gradually turn illusory, before being stripped away by the Tao charm of the life aura and thrown into the void. The Grand Tao between heaven and earth seemed to have been captured by him, and the various laws and auras became increasingly clear. At this moment, he could grab any law he wanted with just a raise of his hand. His Grand Tao charm, under the influence of these laws, continued to solidify and grow stronger. Late-stage primordial chaos, peak primordial chaos. He saw his own Tao. At the beginning of the primal chaos, the universe gave birth to all things. In the countless billions of years of evolution, countless species died, and countless new species began to emerge. All life, all laws, all Tao charm, all originated from one place. Heavenly Tao, Earth Tao, Human Tao. Alchemy Tao, Craftsmanship Tao, Array Tao. The world was the same, but the same destination was different. No roots, no stems, no leaves, no glory. All things were born, all things were formed, and life was called Tao. Ningcheng laughed. The world's Grand Tao is nothing more than this. The world is the same, but the same destination is different. My Tao merge. The world suddenly turned illusory. Ningcheng looked up in doubt and saw a gray vortex. This vortex was filled with the aura of space-time Tao charm. What's going on? Was everything just an illusion? Everything was in his mind? Late-stage primordial chaos was fake, peak primordial chaos was fake, and he didn't reach Tao unification? Right, I'm using the recalling Bodhi seed to comprehend the axe-line killing intent Tao charm. I'm trying to solve this axe-line killing intent Tao charm. How can this illusion of Tao unification appear? He looked down at the recalling Bodhi seed in his hand. The recalling Bodhi seed also turned illusory and turned into a terrifying gray vortex. This gray vortex overlapped with the vortex in front of him, and the space-time aura became even more powerful. Was this the aura of reincarnation? No, this was not the aura of reincarnation, but Ningcheng suddenly came to a realization. He knew what this aura was. He could only comprehend up to the first two of the three stages of time. The first stage was the infinitely beautiful sunset, and the second stage was the time flies like an arrow, and the years flies like a shuttle. This space-time aura in front of him. Wasn't it the third stage that he wanted to comprehend but couldn't? The third stage of the three stages of time, looking back without reincarnation. Ningcheng was pleasantly surprised. He didn't even try to use the third stage of time spirit technique, and the gray space-time vortex became even more violent. Ningcheng's Grand Tao was directly absorbed by the gray vortex, and his cultivation dropped rapidly. Primordial chaos Tao essence. When Ningcheng's cultivation dropped to the point that he didn't even know what realm he was in, the gray vortex directly swept him up and disappeared. The moment Ningcheng was swept away by the gray vortex, a dull thunderous sound erupted in the vast void. It seemed as if the laws of the entire vast universe were shattering, and it seemed as if the shattered laws of the entire universe were condensing. Such a huge commotion had alarmed everyone in the vast void. In the void, a woman sitting on a cyan lotus throne suddenly stood up. Her peerless grace made the entire void lose its color. Her eyes shot out two golden rays of light. These two rays of light directly broke through the void and positional planes, and fell directly on the planet Ningcheng had sunk into. However, this planet was completely empty. There was nothing at all. After a long time, she clenched her slender jade-like hands, and a subtle explosion of laws came out, causing her to purse her beautiful lips tightly. After a while, she muttered to herself, he actually found a way to break through the celestial decay 5 and integrate his Grand Tao? And the aura of the recalling Bodhi seed? Is this another person with a good fortune treasure? No, I won't allow such a thing to happen. With another light snort, the cyan lotus throne under the stunning woman's feet directly turned illusory, broke through countless void planes, and disappeared. At the same time, in a void hundreds of millions of miles away from Jiaoliang Mountain. A young man in a blue robe, who was moving swiftly in the void, was shocked. He stopped in his tracks and raised his head to look at the void, which was rumbling everywhere, and felt the aura in the void. Someone is using the recalling Bodhi seed? There's actually such a thing? The young man in a blue robe muttered to himself. The rumbling in the void continued, and an aura of laws that ordinary people could not detect permeated every corner of the void. The young man in a blue robe suddenly closed his eyes and stood in the void, motionless. After an unknown period of time, he suddenly opened his eyes and said in a clear voice, "So this is Tao unification. My Tao 3 gives birth to all things above all things. My Tao breaks through the celestial decay 5 and produces the vast laws. My Tao fuses with my Tao laws. My Tao merge, 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 merge." The void, which had been rumbling with thunder and surging Tao runes, rumbled and surged again at this moment. It was as if heaven and earth had collapsed, and every corner was permeated with merge, 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 close. The echoes, the endless aura of Tao runes gathered together, and the endless aura of laws surrendered at this moment. All the powerhouses stared at the void in the distance in shock. Who was this Tao unification? How could it be so terrifying? The stunning woman, who had traversed countless voids in search of Ningcheng, stopped once again. Her eyes even revealed extreme disbelief. How could this be possible? She could not believe that an expert who had surpassed the celestial decay 5 and fused with his Tao had appeared. How could another one appear? This was a broken universe after the ancient creation war. How could there be so many almighty beings appearing? She recalled how her palm imprint had been dispersed by the two of them, and her heart felt as if it had been pricked by a needle. The young man in a blue robe stood in the void. His Tao runes had completely fused, and he stood in the void without any restrictions. Suddenly, he looked up at the vast void, and his eyes revealed shock. So powerful. Immediately after, his figure flashed and disappeared without a trace from where he stood. After half an incense stick's time, the stunning woman standing on the green lotus platform appeared in her original spot. She did not continue to chase after him. When the young man in a blue robe disappeared, she could no longer sense his traces. His strength was far inferior to hers, but his concealment method was too powerful. Chapter 1280. Bang! A black shadow fell into the mud field along with the whirlpool in the air, causing mud to fly everywhere. After a long time, a man covered in black mud limped out of the mud field. The mudman wiped off the black mud on his face. It was Ningcheng, who had been swept away by the space-time whirlpool in the void. Ningcheng looked around in doubt, and then looked down at his broken leg. After just 2 breaths, Ningcheng's heart sank. He couldn't feel any Tao Charm aura or Spirit Essence power. No, not to mention Tao Charm aura or Spirit Essence power. He couldn't even feel spiritual consciousness or true essence. At this moment, he didn't have even the slightest bit of cultivation. At this moment, he was just an ordinary person. What's going on? Ningcheng panicked and quickly limped to the stream next to the mud field, and washed all the mud off his face. It revealed his youthful face from when he was still studying in Jiangzhou. His hair was no longer gray like before after being killed by the indestructible axe's axe intent, but completely black. He stretched out his hand and wanted to bring out a fireball technique, but he could no longer muster any true essence or spiritual consciousness. He couldn't feel the celestial river flame, or the everlasting blue thunder city in his sea of consciousness. Ningcheng sat down cross-legged, and tried to operate his cultivation method to absorb the spiritual qi for cultivation. But it didn't work. He couldn't cultivate. After an hour or two, Ningcheng stood up in disappointment. He didn't understand what had happened to him. The recalling Bodhi seed had indeed removed the indestructible axe's axe line's killing intent. At the same time, his Tao charm and cultivation had also been removed. At this moment he returned to his most ordinary state. The essence spirit left behind by Ji Fengyu had said that his Tao heart had a scar, and that the recalling Bodhi seed could help him comprehend the 3rd step. He used the recalling Bodhi seed, and although he didn't feel the 3rd step, he did feel the aura of Tao integration. He felt the late-stage primordial chaos, peak primordial chaos, and even felt that he had reached Tao integration. Although it was illusory, he did feel it. Did the recalling Bodhi seed let him feel the illusory Tao integration? No, the recalling Bodhi seed must be a heaven-defying treasure. Otherwise, how could it let him remove the indestructible axe's killing intent, and even send him to such an ordinary place? Most likely, the life essence of the perpetual moon abyss did not realize the true value of the recalling Bodhi seed. Since the turning back Bodhi seed had sent him to this place, there must be a reason for it. Otherwise, there would be no need to call it the returning Bodhi seed. It would be better to just call it the escape talisman. Ningqing no longer entangled himself in the fact that he had become an ordinary person. Originally, he was already a dead man, but with the help of the recalling Bodhi seed, what else was there to entangle himself with? Although he couldn't cultivate, had no cultivation realm, and couldn't feel the spirit qi and the laws of heaven and earth here, Ningqing also had a vague premonition that he had arrived at a place that could not be any more ordinary. This place was even as low-level as Earth, with no true cultivation, only low-level technology. After thoroughly cleaning himself, Ningqing found a branch, and limped away from the place where he had fallen. No matter what, he had to find out where he was. The surroundings of the mud field were empty, and even somewhat desolate. It was reasonable to say that there should be a village next to the mud fields, but in fact, Ningqing walked for another hour, and not only did he not see a village, he did not even see a shadow of a person. Seeing that the sun was about to set, Ningqing decided to first find a place to settle down. With his current strength as an ordinary person, walking in this strange place was not a good thing. At this time, the breeze brought along a clamorous sound. Ningqing thought that he had heard wrong, and deliberately stopped to listen carefully, but it was still the same noise. Ningqing quickly walked in the direction of the noise, and after climbing over a small hill, he finally saw it clearly. In front of him was a huge basin, and in the center of this basin, there were almost tens of thousands of people gathered. The sun had not yet set, but the center of the basin had already been lit with countless torches. In the middle of the crowd, there was a black pillar, and a long-haired girl was tied to the pillar. Although it was quite far away, and he could not see the girl's appearance, Ningqing could see from the girl's figure and the vague shape of her face that she should be a very beautiful girl. The girl's clothes were very beautiful, and she wore a variety of jewelry on her head. Ningqing frowned slightly. Why was she tied up? Then his eyes fell on the dry firewood under the pillar. At this moment, Ningqing understood, but before he could think about why, a man holding a torch threw the torch into the pile of dry firewood. The flame immediately rolled up, completely wrapping the girl in it. At the same time as the flame rolled up, the people around her began to cheer and sing. Ningqing clenched his fists, feeling a bit sullen in his heart. He did not know what kind of mistake this girl had committed, to be burned alive, and yet there were still countless people cheering and singing. A man wearing a gray robe walked up to the high platform behind the flame at this time, and sang in a sharp voice, "Great Emperor Zhu Ming, we use Tia's purest blood and soul to pay tribute to our emperor. May our fate be the same as the emperor. May our souls always sincerely prostrate at the feet of the emperor." Everyone in the basin knelt down under this kind of chanting, and at the same time repeated this sharp voice from their mouths. Ningqing clenched his fists in anger. He thought that the girl had made some kind of mistake. This was the same as using a pure body to suppress an emperor in the underground abyss of the Grand Change realm. Using the blood and soul of a girl to pay tribute to an emperor. Ningqing knew this kind of thing too well. Although he couldn't see it, he knew that countless power of hope had gathered in one place during this ritual. At this time, if Ningqing still had his cultivation, he would have wanted to roll up the flame and turn everyone in the basin into flying ash. The Blue True Hope tribe was the most enthusiastic about collecting power of hope. This tribe also provided powerful power of hope to the Hope tribe's king through this kind of prayer. Ningqing didn't know if this Emperor Zhu Ming was the essence spirit of the Blue True Hope tribe that escaped. Ningqing also knew that the Blue True Hope tribe cultivated an extraordinary cultivation method. It was a branch of the fate spirit technique, the fate of predestined wishes. Therefore, Emperor Zhu Ming was most likely a member of the Blue True Hope tribe. As the ritual continued, Ningqing quietly sneaked down the hillside and mixed into the crowd. Among the tens of thousands of people offering sacrifices, no one cared about Ningqing's presence. After a few hours, when the sky started to turn slightly bright, the ritual finally ended. The crowd began to disperse slowly, and Ningqing, who had long since grown impatient, followed behind the crowd. Originally, Ningqing planned to find the barbaric place where these people lived, and then wait for an opportunity on the periphery to find someone to ask where this place was. But when Ningqing saw a towering city, he realized that he had guessed wrong. The words Jiangsha City were written on top of the giant city. The city gate was tall, and several guards stood guard at the gate. At this time, the sky was completely bright, and countless people were coming in and out of the city gate. How was this a barbaric village? This was a bustling city. Ningqing followed the believers who had returned from offering sacrifices to Emperor Zhu Ming to the city gate. But when he arrived, Ningqing found that the people coming in and out of the city stepped aside and took the initiative to let the believers who had returned from the ritual enter the city first. Even the two guards bowed their heads and showed a respectful look. Ningqing had experienced the vicissitudes of life and had experienced too many things in the vast universe. Such a scene made him understand that Jiangsha City wasn't just filled with Emperor Zhu Ming's believers. However, these believers were a huge force in Jiangsha City, a force that even the city master feared. Otherwise, such a scene would not have appeared in front of him. Ningqing followed behind these believers and entered the Jiangsha City without any danger. Although Ningqing had lost his cultivation, he still had his sixth intuition. With his powerful intuition, the moment he entered Jiangsha City, he immediately felt a few hate-filled gazes sweeping over him. Ningqing understood in his heart that these believers of Emperor Zhu Ming were not welcomed here. The streets of Jiangsha City were very spacious, with many shops lining both sides of the street. Although it was still early in the morning, the streets were already crowded with all kinds of merchants. When these people saw the believers coming over, they quickly moved to one side of the street, giving way to the believers. Ningqing, who was among the believers, quickly took the opportunity to leave the line of believers and entered the crowd on the side of the street. Ningqing had just breathed a sigh of relief when a dark hand grabbed his arm. "Good, you've got some guts. You dare to pretend to be a believer of Emperor Zhu Ming. As long as I squeak, you will immediately be torn apart by 5 horses, and then minced into meat sauce and finally fed to the dogs, right?" Ningqing calmly said. The one who grabbed him was a thin teenager in ragged clothes, who looked even more down and out than him. He didn't know how long it had been since he last washed his dark hands. The thin teenager looked at Ningqing in shock and subconsciously let go of his hand. He whispered in amazement, "Aren't you afraid?" Ningqing smiled. "I'm afraid, but I'm sure that even if I gave you 10,000 times the courage, you wouldn't dare to squeak. If you don't believe me, you can go out and squeak." After saying that, Ningqing flashed to the side. With his experience and knowledge, dealing with such a little beggar would be an unfair fight. The little beggar put down his hand in embarrassment, rubbed it and said, "Big brother, you're really wise. I'll follow you from now on." Ningqing raised his hand to stop the little beggar's words. "Don't play with me. I don't have a single copper coin on me. If you want to follow me to eat and drink, then forget it. I'm hungry right now, and I'm looking for someone to treat me to a meal." The little beggar smiled. "Big brother, this little brother really admires you for daring to sneak into Emperor Zhu Ming's believers. This little brother will take you to eat something delicious." Ningqing looked at the little beggar suspiciously. "You want to take me to eat something delicious? You don't even have half a copper coin on you, do you?" "We're going to the Yu clan. The Yu clan is holding a big celebration these days, and the banquet is on the street. I don't dare to go alone, but big brother, you're brave enough to sneak in. Let me tell you, the most beautiful woman in Jiangsha City is the Yu clan's Miss Qing," the little beggar said with a look of longing. Ningqing didn't know if he longed for delicious food or to see Miss Qing. Chapter 1281. If it were any other place, Ningqing would only feel a bit familiar with Miss Yu clan's name. But here, hearing about Miss Yu clan's Miss Qing, Ningqing couldn't help but think of Yu Qing. He immediately felt sure that this Miss Yu clan's Miss Qing had something to do with Yu Qing, who left behind the 10 ice walls. Because the recalling Bodhi seed brought him here. The recalling Bodhi seed helped him perfect his Dao heart. It turned out to be Yu Qing. Ningqing kept thinking about whether his Dao heart trace was Yu Qing or Tian Muwen, or someone else. When he heard about Miss Yu clan's Miss Qing, he instantly understood that his Dao heart trace was not Tian Muwen, but Yu Qing. He didn't owe Tian Muwen, but he owed Yu Qing's persistence. If not for him, Yu Qing would not have gone to the time wilderness. If not for him, Yu Qing would not have fallen into the ice abyss and left behind the 10 ice walls. There was also the ladder of life, which Yu Qing carved out one by one on the hard ice walls. Ningqing put away the entire canyon and sent it into the mysterious yellow bead. But at this time he couldn't even feel the mysterious yellow bead, let alone look at the 10 ice walls. "Big brother, how is it?" The little beggar saw Ningqing in a daze and asked after swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Every time he went outside the Yu clan's courtyard, he could only smell the aroma of food. He would never dare to go in alone. Ningqing dared to sneak into the ranks of Emperor Zhu Ming's followers. With such courage and ability, he could easily enter the Yu clan's courtyard. Ningqing touched the ring in his hand and felt some regret in his heart. If he had his spiritual consciousness, he could just take something out of the ring, and it would be enough. You don't have to worry about eating. Why is this place called Sand City? Ningqing patted the little beggar on the shoulder and wanted to get some information from the little beggar. The little beggar snorted. You want to test me with this? Sand City means that there are as many generals as there are grains of sand in this place. What about other places? Ningqing asked. What he wanted to know most was where this continent was, or what kind of planet it was. The little beggar suddenly froze on hearing Ningqing's question and spoke after a while. Other places. I haven't been there yet. Although he knew that the little beggar might not know which starland this was, Ningqing still felt a little disappointed. He could only ask again. Have you seen anyone who can fly? Ningqing wanted to know if this place was really a true cultivator city, or just an ordinary place. Can fly? The little beggar looked at Ningqing with suspicion in his eyes. Big brother, are you sure you don't have any problems? The most powerful person in Jiangsha City is the sect master of Zhuming Temple, but he can't fly either. Ningqing chuckled and spoke. I'm just joking with you. Tell me, just how powerful is the headmaster? The little beggar lowered his voice. Although the sect master of the Temple of Heaven Blessing can't fly, he can glide through the air for over 100 feet. The Pingyao Merchant Association was very influential. Even in Jiangsha City, it was one of the top merchant associations. This was because the daughter of the Pingyao Merchant Association's guild master was very pretty. Although she was not as pretty as Lady Qing, she was still a famous beauty in Jiangsha City. Because monarch Zhu Ming needed her pure soul as a sacrifice, the leader of Pingyao Merchant Association and the sect master of Zhu Ming Temple had a conflict. Do you know what happened in the end? The sect master of Pingyao Merchant Association killed everyone in the Pingyao Merchant Association, leaving no one alive. Finally, he took the leader's daughter out and burned her to death as a sacrifice. Ningqing's heart sank when he heard this. He quickly asked, in that case, would Yu clan's Lady Qing, who is so beautiful, also be taken to the sacrifice? The little beggar snorted. Who doesn't know that the sect master of Zhu Ming Temple has a marriage with Yu clan? Do you know why Yu clan held a banquet for several days? It's because the sect master of Zhu Ming Temple proposed marriage to Yu clan. He said that Lady Qing was suitable to be the sect master, and was ready to welcome Lady Qing. I heard that Jiangsha City's city lord came forward to propose marriage. With such a relationship, who would dare to touch Lady Qing? When Ningqing heard these words, he immediately clenched his fists tightly. Come on, let's go to Yu clan and have a look. Ningqing said without hesitation. If Yu Qing had really reincarnated, he would let the sect master of Zhu Ming Temple have a taste of being burned alive. Big brother, is your leg okay? The little beggar saw Ningqing walking with a slight limp and asked carefully. These words were like cold water poured over Ningqing's head, and he sat down dispiritedly. He was no longer a primordial chaos expert who could kill Dao integration experts, but a legless person who had lost all his cultivation. Given his current strength, how could he turn that sect master into ashes? The little beggar saw Ning Cheng's disappointment and quickly said, "Big brother, why don't you go to my place and rest? Anyway, your clan's banquet will be held for many days. You still have a place to live?" Ning Cheng looked at the little beggar in confusion. This guy was obviously a street beggar. Jiangsha City was not a small city at first glance. In this place, even if there was a dog shed to live in, it would still be a fortune. The little beggar smiled proudly. "Big brother, don't underestimate me. Not only do I have a place to live, but I also live by the Qin River. If you follow me, you will know that I'm not lying." Ning Cheng followed the little beggar through a few streets and gradually sensed the aura of water vapor. Soon, the two of them came to a Qingshui river with willows on both sides. There was a spacious official road by the river, and all kinds of green plants were planted on both sides of the official road. When the breeze blew, it was indeed relaxing and relaxing. On the spacious Qingshui River, some pleasure boats were constantly shuttling back and forth, and all kinds of decadent sounds could be heard. It seemed particularly leisurely. "You actually live in this place?" Ning Cheng looked at the commercial buildings and residences by the riverside in amazement. He wondered if the little beggar was the kind of second generation who played with the poor. "Of course," the little beggar said proudly. Then he quickly turned into a willow forest by the river and quickly drilled into it. Ning Cheng followed the little beggar in confusion. After passing through a section of porcelain pipes used as gutters, they came under a bridge. When they reached this place, Ning Cheng completely understood why the little beggar lived by the Qin River. This guy lived under the bridge. "What do you think, big brother? This place is not bad, right? The scenery is first class, and you can also feel the breeze of the Qin River. The only drawback is that it's too cold in winter." The little beggar proudly drilled into a pile of broken quilts and sat down. Ning Cheng shook his head. How could it be too cold in winter? In this place, no one would die in winter. It was already a great fortune. "Big brother, you rest. I'll help you get something to eat. Although there is nothing delicious in this place, I can still get some ordinary things." The little beggar finished, and without waiting for Ning Cheng to speak, he drilled out again. Ning Cheng ignored the little beggar. He found a chipped kitchen knife next to the little beggar's broken quilt. He cut off the branch that he had brought back and connected his broken leg by feeling it. Then he tied it with 2 branches to fix it. After doing this, Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He was a middle-stage primordial chaos holy emperor, and even had a good fortune treasure. Now he had to use 2 branches to fix his broken leg. There was nothing more ironic than this. He had to thank the life essence of the perpetual moon abyss. If it weren't for the Bodhi seed, he would have been hit by the axe intent. Perhaps he would have ended up like the invisible Tao monarch, waiting for death. That axe-line killing intent was just too terrifying. Ning Cheng once again thought of the axe-line killing intent, and suddenly remembered another thing. During the Good Fortune War, the Good Fortune indestructible axe broke. Kong Xiushan had said that the owner of the Good Fortune indestructible axe had an unyielding and direct temperament. He would not retreat until he died. Because the Good Fortune indestructible axe had the same unyielding temperament as its owner, after the owner died, it took the initiative to break into billions of fragments and sprinkled them into the void of the universe. If what Kong Xiushan said was true, then how could such a staunch and unyielding person arrange such a sinister, inextinguishable axe-line killing intent at the edge of the Jiaoliang Sea? What's more, after the Good Fortune War, the indestructible axe had already broken. The only possibility was that someone had used the axe-line killing intent left behind by the Good Fortune indestructible axe to kill all the people who entered the Jiaoliang mountain. To be able to do this, it was definitely a supreme powerhouse. Maybe it was also a powerhouse with a good fortune treasure. Why would such a powerful person arrange such a killer? The only possibility was that there was a top-grade treasure in the Jiaoliang mountain. And that powerhouse knew that he could not come to the Jiaoliang mountain to take away the treasure, so he let all the people who entered the depths of the Jiaoliang mountain die. This must be the case. The more Ning Cheng thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. "Little slut, you're courting death." An angry roar arrived, causing Ning Cheng to sober up from his recollection. as his eyes turned towards the direction of the angry roar. Then he saw a beautiful painted pleasure boat in the middle of the river, with a pale man with an unhealthy complexion standing on the bow of the painted pleasure boat, while holding a disheveled woman in his hand. Slut, it's not too late to beg for mercy. This master has tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. As long as you serve me well, I will spare your life. After the man cursed, his anger seemed to have subsided a bit. However, he did not let go of the woman's hand. Although the woman was being held by the man's hand, she did not say a word. The men and women standing on both sides of the painted pleasure boat also did not dare to speak. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to sigh at moon breeze, this bowl of rice was not tasty. The man raised his hand and threw the woman into the river, before speaking in an ice-cold tone. In that case, go and feed the fishes. Splash, a sound emerged, as the woman left some ripples on the surface of the river, before she quickly sank down. Not a single person on the painted pleasure boat dared to come out to save her. Not only that, but the painted pleasure boat also quickly sailed away. Ning Cheng shook his head. This was not a place for cultivation, but the law of the jungle was even more terrifying than a place for cultivation. There was no law to protect the life of an innocent person. For ordinary people, living in such a place was a tragedy. In the absence of any conflict of interest or grievances, Ning Cheng really could not stand by and watch someone die. He did not hesitate to dive into the river from under the bridge. With his understanding of water, he found the woman in the water in a short time. When Ning Cheng grabbed the woman and brought her back under the bridge, he saw a huge iron block tied to the woman's body. Chapter 1282. The woman had not been in the water for a long time. Ning Cheng took off the iron block from her body and pressed a few times on her abdomen. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of water, the woman opened her eyes. Ah! Seeing Ning Cheng, she screamed, and then closed her mouth tightly. You take a rest, and then go back by yourself. Ning Cheng retied the moving branches, and leaned on the little beggar's quilt and said, although this woman was thrown into the Chin River from the boat, she was obviously not a romantic person. Ning Cheng looked at her palms and knew that although she looked very delicate, her palms were rough, and should be a person who did rough work. A romantic person would not have such rough palms. Because of this, Ning Cheng told her to go home. As for other things, he could not help her now. What he should do now, he still had not thought about it. To Ning Cheng's surprise, the woman did not immediately thank Ning Cheng, but asked, is this the residence of King Qin He? King Qin He? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. This was the residence of the little beggar. How could it be King Qin He? The little beggar's voice came. Big brother, I am King Qin He, I live on the Qin River, and guard the entire Qin River day and night. Isn't that King Qin He? While speaking, the little beggar quickly came up, and in his hands were 2 steaming buns. Big brother, for you I got these. Putting the 2 steamed buns in Ning Cheng's hands, the little beggar licked his lips, and then his eyes fell on the woman. He was not surprised that there was a woman in the water here. He had pulled up several of them before. So seeing this woman dripping wet, he did not ask Ning Cheng where this woman came from. There was no need to ask. He knew that Ning Cheng saved her from the Qin River. Hey, you are. The little beggar recognized the wet woman, and said in surprise. The woman smiled, as if she was not the one who was thrown into the water, nodded to the little beggar, and then stood up and bowed to Ning Cheng. When Yin thanks her big brother for saving her. It's nothing. Ning Cheng waved his hand. Little beggar, do you know her? Of course, she saved me once. Every time I steal steamed buns from Jibo, I always succeed. Only once, I was too careless and was seen by Jibo's sister when Yin took out a copper coin and said that she bought it. Big brother, although Jibo is careless, he's very strong. If he catches me stealing his steamed buns, I'll be dead. The beggar still had lingering fears. You said that you often go to Jibo's steamed buns, and have not been discovered? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. The beggar puffed out his chest. Of course. Who do you think I am? I'm King Qin He. I'm very agile. Although Ning Cheng had lost his cultivation, but he did not feel hungry, he handed the bun to the little beggar and said, I'm not hungry, you can eat it yourself. But I suggest you go and thank Jibo next time. The little guy originally wanted to decline the steamed bun, but after hearing Ning Cheng's words, he asked in a puzzled manner, "Why? If I go and thank Jibo, then wouldn't Jibo know that I stole his buns?" Ning Cheng sneered. "Do you think that people would not know that you stole other people's buns? Even if they didn't know the first time, they would know the second and third time. With your thin body, you want to steal other people's buns without anyone knowing?" The little beggar suddenly froze. He did not think that Jibo would already know that he stole the buns. If that was the case, he would not have the face to see Jibo. When Ning Cheng saw the expression on the little beggar's face, his face sank. He remembered Cao Cao from the Three Kingdoms era. Cao Cao and Chen Gong fled to Lu Bosh's house to escape the pursuit of the government. Lu Bosh, in order to entertain the two of them, deliberately went out to buy wine, while his family slaughtered a pig to welcome them. Unexpectedly, the sound of a knife being sharpened awakened Cao Cao. Cao Cao was suspicious. Thinking that he was going to be killed, he killed Lu Bosh's family. On the way Cao Cao escaped, he met Lu Bosh, who came back from buying wine. Although he felt remorseful, he was afraid that Lu Bosh would go back and see his family die tragically and then retaliate against him. So he killed Lu Bosh. At that time Cao Cao was not afraid of revenge, but he was afraid of facing something that was difficult to repay, which made him feel uneasy. Of course, this may have been made up by the author. Not to mention killing a pig as a treat was somewhat outrageous. Pork was not a noble thing to treat people in the Han Dynasty. What's more, the pig's squeal would let the neighbors know. And at that time Cao Cao was still on the run. Ning Cheng did not want the little beggar to run away from kindness. The little beggar's nature was still very kind. In fact, good and evil could only be separated by a single thought. If the little beggar ran away from this kindness, in the future, his character may become distorted. His principle has always been to repay kindness with kindness, and to take revenge with hatred. If he did not dare to face kindness, then what was the difference between him and a beast? When Yin suddenly said, "It's just a few buns, maybe Jibo will not care about it." Ning Cheng slightly frowned, and was about to speak, when he suddenly heard a shrill cry, followed by a strong youth rushing towards the Qin River. But the youth had not yet reached the Qin River, when he was struck in the back by a knife, and fell to the ground on the spot. "Brother!" When Yin saw this scene, and suddenly cried out pitifully, and was about to rush over, but she stood up too quickly, and the bridge was too short, so she immediately fainted. "Jibo!" The little beggar cried out in shock. "He is Jibo?" Ning Cheng looked at the bleeding youth on the ground and muttered to himself. Then he looked at the fainted Wen Yin, and completely understood what was going on. "Big bro, let's hurry and save him." The little beggar was also anxious. Jibo, covered in blood, had already been dragged towards the Qin River. Ning Cheng sighed. Even if he wanted to save Jibo, he could not go out now. Going out at this time was tantamount to suicide. In this place, there were kind people like Jibo and Wen Yin, but there were also evil people. "How are you swimming? How about holding your breath?" Ning Cheng looked at the little beggar and asked. The little beggar patted his chest. "I am the Qin River King. Even if I have to catch ginseng fish in the Qin River, I will not have any problem. At the bottom, I can dive for a long time." "That's good. You immediately dive to the place where Jibo will fall, and then drag him to the bottom. The first thing you do is to punch him and bring him here," Ning Cheng said, while teaching the little beggar how to knock out Jibo. This punch would not only knock out Jibo, but it would also temporarily stop the bleeding on Jibo's back. The little beggar immediately said, "I know, wait for you to drag Jibo. I have no way to get him to the bridge." Just as Ning Cheng expected, the little beggar had not dived for long, when the bloody Jibo was thrown into the water. The little beggar's comprehension ability was also good, and very easily dragged Jibo into the water, punched Jibo unconscious, and then pulled Jibo back to the bottom of the river. The few men who threw Jibo into the Qin River, when they saw that Jibo only had some blood on his body, they all laughed, and did not even bother to look at him before turning around and walking away. They certainly would not dare to save him. The Qianxing young master threw someone into the river, who would dare to save him? Unless they were tired of living. When Yin had already woken up, she was a little sluggish, and then remembered what had happened a moment ago, and suddenly wanted to rush out. Ning Cheng patted her shoulder. You don't want to live. If you go out now, everyone will die. Wen immediately understood the meaning of Ning Cheng's words, suppressed her voice, and began to cry. There were a few bubbles under the bridge. Ning Cheng knew that the little beggar had come back. It seems that this little beggar really was not bragging. His swimming ability was not just for show. Even if his legs did not hurt, if he went to bring Jibo back, his speed would not be this fast. Ning Cheng was at the edge of the bridge. He reached out and pulled Jibo into the bridge. The little beggar also easily climbed up from the edge. Brother. Wen saw Ning Cheng pull up Jibo, and was pleasantly surprised. Ning Cheng patted Jibo a few times and Jibo woke up. The knife wound on his back looked terrible, but in fact it was not so serious. The one who chopped the knife was not a master, and Jibo was running forward, plus his clothes had blocked some of the damage, so his muscles and bones were not injured. Wen, are you okay? Jibo completely forgot where he was. The two of them hugged each other with tears of joy. Big brother, my swimming ability is not bad, right? The little beggar proudly grabbed the bun that he had put down before, and took a bite. Ning Cheng nodded, it's really good. Jibo and Wen remembered Ning Cheng and the little beggar, and the two of them quickly came over to thank them. The brother and sister were not good at expressing themselves. After talking for a long time, Ning Cheng came to know that Jibo's original name was Mei Jibo, and the woman that Ning Cheng saved was called Mei Wen. The little beggar was very arrogant, and imitated Ning Cheng, waving his hand. It's just a small matter. It's just a matter of convenience. I ate a lot of brother Jibo's buns, but you did not say anything. Today I saved you. Jibo opened his mouth and after a while said, I know that you stole my buns. Did you already know about it? The little beggar's face turned red, and suddenly became tongue-tied. Ning Cheng looked at Jibo and asked, Who told you about your sister being thrown into the water in the Qin River? It was my brother Ban. He and I are neighbors. If it was not my brother Ban, then tell me. Ning Cheng interrupted Jibo. Why did your brother Ban want to harm you? Harm me? If he had not told me that Wen was taken away and given to the Qianxing young master, I would not have known about this matter. Jibo looked very strong, but his mind was not very bright. The little beggar spat. Jibo, my big brother meant to tell you about this matter, that you would not be able to save your sister, but would rather die. You see, if it were not for us here, you would have already died. What is this called? That's right, killing with a borrowed knife. Mei Wen also understood. Brother Banbo really wanted to harm us. Jibo finally understood, and immediately clenched his teeth and cursed. This beast actually dared to harm me. Wen was taken away by this beast. If I do not kill this beast. Chapter 1283. This time, Ning Cheng did not need to do anything, as Mei Wen had already pulled Jibo back. Big brother, don't even talk about revenge. Even if we are safe, we can't go back to the place where we live now. Otherwise, not only will we die, but we will also implicate King Qin He and this big brother. The little beggar also thought about how to deal with the aftermath and frowned. Saving people was easy, but how were the four of them going to cross the bridge in the future? Moreover, if there were too many people, they would definitely be discovered. Was Bambo the one who took you away by Bian Qianxing? Mei Jibo had already calmed down. Mei Wen hesitated for a moment, but still nodded. Yes, he told me that the Bian family needed a few kitchen maids. The price was very high, so I went to take a look. But Mei Jibo was not stupid after all. After he calmed down, he noticed the loophole. Although Wen was considered pretty, who was Bian Qianxing, there were countless women in the Bian residence who were prettier than Wen. How could Bian Qianxing take his sister away? It was Banbo who told Bian Qianxing that I have a Wang Ti. As long as I'm willing to follow Bian Qianxing. Mei Wen didn't need to finish her sentence. Everyone understood what was going on. Mei Jibo finally understood why Banbo wanted to harm his brother and sister. Back then, when he had refused to sell the courtyard to Banbo, Banbo had smiled and said that it was fine. He didn't expect this person to shoot at him from behind. If it weren't for this big brother and the little beggar who saved their lives, the two of them, thinking of this, Mei Jibo once again thanked Ning Cheng. Big brother's life-saving grace, us siblings will never forget it. Ningcheng smiled. Just call me Ningcheng from now on. By the way, who is that Bian Qianqing? The little beggar had already finished off the 2 buns, so when Ningcheng asked him a question, he quickly replied. Bian Qianqing is the younger brother of one of the concubines of Zhu Ming Temple's headmaster. He can do whatever he wants in Jiangsha City, and no one dares to say half a word. Even the lord of Jiangsha City doesn't dare to say anything about him. After saying that, the little beggar suggested, Big brother, I have an idea. We can sneak out of Jiangsha City at night. There is a Tooth Mountain outside Jiangsha City. Tooth Mountain is boundless. No one will know if we hide there. Mi Wenyin carefully said. But even those powerful martial artists who entered the Tooth Mountain were unable to come out. I heard that there are a lot of savage ominous beasts there. Ningcheng stopped Mei Jibo, who was about to open his mouth, and said, I will now teach you a set of cultivation methods. Try to cultivate it immediately, and see if you can sense the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. If you can't sense it, you 3 should leave Jiangsha City first. Big brother, what about you? The little beggar quickly asked. After knowing that Ningcheng dared to sneak into the crowd of believers, Ningcheng became a god in his heart. As long as he could learn Ningcheng's ability, where could he not go to the Sand City? I can't leave yet. Ningcheng looked in the direction of the center of Jiangsha City, and spoke slowly. Even if he lost all his cultivation, as long as his leg was healed, it would be easy for him to kill that bullshit sect master. Even if he didn't have cultivation, he still had his array Dao and alchemy Dao. Even if he had to poison the entire Jiangsha City, he could do it, let alone kill a hierarch. Seeing that the little beggar still wanted to ask, Ningcheng waved his hand and said, Let's cultivate first. The 3 of you can cultivate together. At this time, Ningcheng had no way to test the 3 people's spiritual roots. He could only find a non-attributed cultivation method, and let the 3 of them go through the heavenly circulation technique. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the little beggar cried out in surprise. Big brother, I feel like a small bug is crawling in my body. Stop! Ningcheng was pleasantly surprised. He did not expect that he could not sense spiritual qi, but the little beggar could. Moreover, his cultivation speed was so terrifying. Big brother Ning, I also feel it. It's not the same as a small bug. It's a warm flow in my body. Mei Wenyin also said. Mei Jibo spoke in a somewhat dispirited voice. I can only feel my body heating up. I can't feel anything else. Ningcheng said, It doesn't matter. It shows that the 3 of you have spiritual roots. After we find a safe place, I will find a way to make a test array disc to test your spiritual roots. Also, little beggar, the next time you cultivate, you are not allowed to suddenly scream. You don't have any cultivation yet. Once you have cultivation, it might lead to serious consequences. Big brother, I understand. If I cultivate like this, will I become as powerful as the head of Longevity Temple in the future? The little beggar's eyes were filled with stars. Ningcheng spoke up with disdain. Who cares about the head of Longevity Temple? With your qualifications under my guidance, you can easily kill the head of Longevity Temple in less than a year. However, this matter. Ningcheng did not continue. How could he wait for the little beggar to learn how to kill the head of Longevity Temple? He would definitely do it before that. If that Miss Qing was really Yu Qing, then she definitely did not want to be the wife of the head, but because she did not have the ability to refuse. Yu Qing had already been helpless once in the Time Wilderness's Ice Valley Abyss. He would not let Yu Qing be helpless a second time. When it gets a little dark, we will go out. Although Jibo's injuries have not reached his bones, we cannot drag it out. Ningcheng decided to find a way to make all kinds of array discs once he got out. Ningcheng knew that it would be dangerous for the 4 of them to leave the city at this time, but he also knew that it would be even more dangerous for them to stay here. Big brother Ning, I actually have a residence in the city, and it's very secretive. Mei Jibo suddenly spoke up. Mei Wenyin also remembered. Brother, you mean Grandpa Ping's? Without waiting for Mei Wenyin to finish speaking, Mei Jibo nodded. Yes, that's it. That place is very remote. As long as we don't come out, no one will find us. Perhaps Jiangsha City was too violent, and one could lose their life if they were not careful. When night fell, Except for some of the main streets that were still bustling with noise, the edges of the city were completely silent. Under Mei Jibo's guidance, Ning Cheng's group of 4 bypassed the Qin River without any danger. A few hours later, the 4 of them arrived at a residential area that was not too desolate. The houses here were very densely packed because the Qin River in front of them was blocked by a bustling street. Although this place was not desolate, it was not bustling either. It could be considered as the slums of Jiangsha City. The courtyard that Mei Jibo mentioned was indeed very secretive. Although there were houses around, none of the doors or windows faced them. Moreover, there was a big hill at the entrance of the courtyard. Although it was called a hill, it was actually a place where garbage was dumped. The courtyard was not very big, and including the kitchen, there were a total of 6 rooms. Although Ning Cheng did not feel hungry, he had been running around since he arrived at this place. He had not slept for 2 days and 1 night, and his body was already very tired. After teaching Mei Jibo some simple healing chants, Ning Cheng cleaned up the dust in the room and immediately went to bed. The next morning, Mei Wanyin found some valuable things in the hut and asked the little beggar to sell them, in exchange for a pile of low-level materials for making array discs. A few days later, under Ning Cheng's treatment, Mei Jibo's injuries had already healed. Although he did not have any crystal stones, Ning Cheng still used the induction array disc to test that Mei Jibo had an earth spiritual root, Mei Wanyin had a metal spiritual root, and the little beggar also had a water spiritual root, just like his water spiritual root. In fact, at Ning Cheng's level, even if someone did not have a spiritual root, Ning Cheng still had a way to help them cultivate. It would be best if all 3 of them had spiritual roots. After teaching the 3 cultivation methods, Ning Cheng began to make array discs and array flags. Time slowly passed by, except for the little beggar who occasionally went out to find some food. The 3 of them were still crazily cultivating. After another half a month, Ning Cheng's leg injury had completely recovered. With the help of the stove in the kitchen, he also refined a pile of array flags and more than a dozen array discs, including a trap and kill array disc, a concealment array disc, an escape array. These array discs could not be driven by crystal stones, but they could automatically absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to power them. In Ning Cheng's view, these array discs were more than enough to deal with a headmaster who had never cultivated before. If not for his lack of cultivation and his inability to sense spiritual qi, he could have easily solved the problem by refining some talismans. "Big brother, are you going out?" On this day, the little beggar came back from buying food and quickly asked when he saw Ning Cheng's appearance. Ning Cheng patted the little beggar's head. "You have cultivated for the shortest time, but your cultivation is the highest among the 3 of us. At Qi Gathering 3rd level. It can be seen that you will have great achievements in the future. Today, I have to go out to take care of some matters. If I can't come back, you can help me give this ring and this book to Miss Qing of the Yu clan." This ring was originally prepared by Ning Cheng, but he did not expect that he would not be able to open it. As for the book, it was a cultivation method that he had left for Yu Qing. After Yu Qing's cultivation reached a certain level, she would naturally be able to open the ring. "Big brother." The little beggar saw Ning Cheng's cautious expression and asked in a somewhat panicked manner. Ning Cheng smiled. "You don't have to worry about me, maybe I'll be back soon." He had to go to the Yu clan first to confirm whether that Miss Qing was really Yu Qing or not, and then he would go look for that headmaster. If that Miss Qing was just a coincidence of the name, and was not Yu Qing, then he would wait for the little beggar and the other 2 to reach a certain level of cultivation, and then go and destroy that blessed life temple. The little beggar opened his mouth, but did not know what to say. Before, he only had one goal, and that was to find a place to eat delicious food. After following Ning Cheng, he cultivated every day, pursuing a higher realm and strength, which made him feel that his spirit was enriched. "Right, what's your name? It's not the little beggar or King Qin He, right?" Ning Cheng patted the little beggar's shoulder and asked casually. "I don't have a name. How about I also follow Big Brother's surname?" The little beggar was very reluctant to let Ning Cheng leave, even if Ning Cheng said that he might come back soon. "All right, you will be called King Ning Qin He from now on," Ning Cheng said with a smile, and regardless of how strange the name was, he turned around and walked out of the small courtyard. "Okay, I will be called King Ningqing he from now on. The little beggar looked at Ning Cheng's back and muttered to himself. He vowed that he would not let his big brother down. Chapter 1284. The power structure of Jiangsha City was very complicated. No matter how complicated it was, those who could establish themselves in Jiangsha City were not simple. The Yu family had been in Jiangsha City for hundreds of years. Whether it was business or strength, they were among the top 10 families in Jiangsha City. The Yu family's status in Jiangsha City could be seen from the fact that it occupied a large area and was located close to the center of the city. Normally, a big family like the Yu family should be living a happy life in Jiangsha City. In fact, when Ningqing arrived at the Yu clan's entrance, he felt that the atmosphere within the Yu clan was not very good. In fact, it even seemed a bit depressed. On the roof of the majestic building, there were two characters the size of dustpans carved in the air, Yu Manor. As soon as Ningqing arrived at the entrance of Yu Mansion, he was blocked by two people. Ningqing cupped his fists and spoke. Two friends, I came here on the invitation of Miss Qing. Originally, the two of them were just trying to block Ningqing, but after hearing Ningqing's words, the two of them immediately stared at Ningqing with wide eyes. Little Miss Qing's invitation? Ever since they started working as guards in the Yu Mansion, they had never heard of Miss Qing inviting a man over. Not to mention men, Miss Qing had never even invited a woman before. This person was simply too shameless when he lied. Get out of the way. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude, one of the guards shouted. At the same time, he flashed the long blade in his hand. Ningqing calmly spoke up. I can go, but if you delay me from delivering the message, can you afford to bear the consequences? Even if young Lady Qing doesn't blame you, if master knows. Nin purposely paused and cupped his hands in the direction of the sacred temple. He knew that half a month ago, a banquet had been held here for a few days. Ningqing was also clear about the reason for holding this banquet. He wanted to use these ambiguous words to scare the two of them. Sure enough, as soon as Ningqing's words came out, the two guards looked at each other, and when they looked at Ningqing again, there was a bit of uneasiness in their eyes. You said that you want to see Miss Qing. Do you have any proof? The guard who had asked Ningqing to step aside asked again, this time with a much weaker tone. Ningqing, with his hands behind his back, still spoke with a calm voice. You just have to tell Miss Qing that passing through the dusk in the sea of twilight is the promise of the light of dawn. If Miss Qing was really Yu Qing's reincarnation, with her cultivation at that time, she might have an impression of these sceneries. If he really did not have any impression of him, then it would not matter. Ningqing believed that he would be able to sneak into the Yu mansion to find that Miss Qing. All right, wait for me. Ningqing spoke the truth. Although the guard did not understand the meaning behind Ningqing's words, he still compromised and spoke to Ningqing. Seeing the guard turn around and go in, Ningqing once again spoke up. Remember, this is Miss Qing's matter. Ningqing was worried that this guard would report to the Yu clan's clan head or someone else. In fact, he was just overthinking things. These guards naturally did not dare to go past young Miss Qing to report to the patriarch. If they had to report such a small matter to the patriarch, then they would not have been able to stay in their positions any longer. The interior of the Yu mansion was extremely spacious. Apart from the wide road in the middle, there were some slightly narrower gravel roads on both sides. The guard entered from the right, and after passing through a few winding corridors above the lotus pond, he stopped in front of an exquisite little building, bowed and said, Young Miss Qing, there's a young man outside saying that he's here because of your invitation. On the second floor of the small building, a young girl in green clothes and holding a jade flute was standing by the window. After hearing the guard's words, she immediately frowned. Because of her invitation? When did she invite a man to the place where she lived? If someone was pretending to be her, who would dare to pretend to be her? If the Sage Temple's headmaster hadn't come to the Yu clan to propose marriage, it might have been possible for someone to pretend to be her. But after the Sage Temple's headmaster's marriage proposal, who would dare to pretend to be her? Wouldn't it be equivalent to losing one's life? If it were Ren Yi, he would never use such a method. The guard downstairs bowed his head and did not dare to say anything. He did not dare to leave without getting a reply from young Miss Qing. The green-robed woman thought for a long time, and was about to say that there was no such thing when she heard the guard, who had been waiting for a long time, speak up again. That person also said that passing through the dusk in the sea of twilight is the first light of dawn. What? Ding. With a cry of alarm, the jade flute in her hand fell to the ground. The guard standing downstairs also heard the sound, and did not dare to speak. He already believed Ning Cheng's words. But he did not feel happy at all. From young Miss Qing's reaction, he could see that Ning Cheng was not sent by that person. The person sent by that person would never make young Miss Qing lose her composure. Once this matter spread out, it would not be good for her. Just as the guard was still thinking about it, a trembling voice came from upstairs. Quick, hurry up and bring him in. Remember, don't let anyone see. Yes, young Mississippi, the guard still replied with a respectful tone. Young Miss Qing was the god in his heart. So what if he died for young Miss Qing? Not to mention bringing a person in. The green-robed woman standing by the window on the second floor looked at the guard's back and pursed her lips. Her hands still trembled. For as long as she could remember, she had been having a strange dream. She and a man continued to run in the twilight. The twilight seemed to have no end. Later, the man rushed out of the twilight with her on his back and saw the dusk. Then they rushed out of the dusk, and when they turned around, it was already dawn. Just as she was looking at the beautiful morning sun, the man suddenly threw her aside and entered an ice forest alone. She quickly chased after him, wanting to catch up with the man, only to find that she had fallen into an ice cave. Later on, her memory became blurred, and she no longer had the slightest impression of it. She did not understand what kind of dream this was. Today, someone unexpectedly told her that it was an appointment with her in the Sea of Twilight. After the guard left, she still covered her head, trying to figure out if she was still dreaming or not. But soon she knew that she was not dreaming. The guard once again came to the bottom of the small building and spoke with a respectful tone. Young Miss Qing, I brought him here. Should I wait here? The green-robed woman spoke with a trembling voice. Thank you, but you don't have to wait. Let him come up, you can go first. Yes. After the guard bowed, he turned to Ning Cheng standing on the side and said, Please go up. Young Miss Qing's identity is very noble. Do not offend her. Although he knew that these words were not spoken by him, the guard still could not help but speak up. Thank you. Ning Cheng thanked him and stepped up the steps of the small building. He was also a little excited in his heart, because the voice upstairs was 90% similar to Yu Qing's. Ning Cheng walked to the door of the second floor, and found that the door was already open. A woman with long hair, wearing a green robe, stood in the room and looked at him with excitement. The excitement in her eyes was not love, nor was it because of a long-time separation, but a kind of excitement to find out more. Ning Cheng stared at the green-robed woman in front of him, with a pair of clear spring-like eyes, a peerless face, and a refined aura. If it was not Yu Qing, then who else could it be? Yu Qing, is it really you? Ning Cheng walked into the room and spoke with excitement, forgetting that Yu Qing had reincarnated. The green-robed woman did not speak, but walked behind Ning Cheng and closed the door. She looked at Ning Cheng for a while before speaking. But I don't think I've seen you before? Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He knew that since Yu Qing called him here, then there must be a reason. It was normal for Yu Qing not to know him, as Yu Qing had never seen his face before. Do you remember the Sea of Twilight? Do you remember the dawn and dusk? Do you remember the ice forest? Also, is your name Yu Qing? Ning Cheng asked a few questions in one breath. Yu Qing nodded. Yes, I often see these scenes in my dreams, but I have never been to these places. Because of this, I asked you to come up. My name is Yu Qing, and everyone in the Yu mansion knows about it. Ning Cheng also calmed down. He knew that for an ordinary person like Yu Qing, his words might be a bit outrageous, or even inconceivable. However, he had to say it. If he did not say it, then there was no way to explain those things. Sit down and talk. I want to know what the Sea of Twilight is, and what is the dawn and dusk. Yu Qing also calmed down the excitement in her heart, and asked Ning Cheng to sit down. After Ning Cheng sat down, he sorted out his thoughts and asked, Do you believe in reincarnation? Yu Qing hesitated. I don't know, but I think reincarnation should exist. Ningcheng spoke with certainty. My name is Ningcheng. After I finish, maybe you will have some impression of it. Not only does reincarnation exist, but it is also right in front of us. Yu Qing, in my past life we once went to a place called the Time Wilderness. In the Time Wilderness, there is a very dangerous forbidden area called the Sea of Twilight. At that time, I had disguised myself as a bearded vagabond, and you found me. I remember, yes, it was a bearded man, it was his back in my dream. No wonder I always felt that you looked a little familiar. Did we really know each other in our past lives? Yu Qing's tone also turned excited. She had never told this kind of thing to anyone. Since Ningcheng knew about it, then it meant that Ningcheng was telling the truth. Ningcheng, on seeing that Yu Qing had some impression of this matter, felt even more relieved in his heart. He then narrated the process of him and Yu Qing meeting each other. He even talked about the 10 ice walls, the purple jade talisman left behind by Yu Qing, and even the cyan robe. When Ningcheng finished, Yu Qing looked at Ningcheng in shock. Apparently, Ningcheng's words were beyond her scope of understanding. It was not that she did not want to believe it, but she simply could not believe it. At first, she still believed it, but the more Ningcheng spoke, the more she felt that something was wrong. People could fly, display all kinds of spiritual abilities, cross the vast starry sky, shatter planets with a single punch, tear through boundaries, live for tens of thousands of years, and even reincarnate. How was this possible? If Ningcheng had only spoken about the things that she could remember, then maybe she would have believed it. However, the more Ningcheng spoke, the more she started to doubt it. There was another possibility. She knew that there was a kind of hallucinogenic drug. This kind of drug could make people dream about some unimaginable things in their dreams, and these things could even be controlled. Did someone use this kind of hallucinogenic drug on her? Chapter 1285. It wasn't impossible. Yu Qing knew her own appearance very well. The reason why she didn't dare to go out was because she was afraid of causing all kinds of uneasiness. In fact, even if she didn't go out, it would still cause all kinds of rumors. Even the headmaster of Wishing Life Temple came to the Yu clan. At the thought of that headmaster, Yu Qing's heart turned cold, and a kind of despair rose within her. So, you also reincarnated? And then you came to find me? Yu Qing's tone turned cold. Ningcheng shook his head. I'm not reincarnated. I cultivated my Tao to the extreme, and a trace appeared in my Tao heart. The reason why I came here is because of you. Yu Qing's tone turned even calmer, and she took the initiative to interrupt Ningcheng's words. I know, it's because I'm your trace, and then you came to find my trace to make up for your Tao. After you make up for your Tao, you can take me with you, right? Ningcheng heard the faint sarcasm in Yu Qing's tone and could only nod. Yes, you are my trace of Tao. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have left behind 10 ice walls in the ice crystal forest, and you wouldn't have fallen inside. I will always remember the ice steps of life, and I have already taken the 10 ice walls and the ice crystal canyon into my world. Maybe after I look at the 10 ice walls and pick you up, my trace of Tao would still exist. As for what you said, it's not. Since you've seen me, has your trace of Tao been repaired? If it's repaired, then please go. Yu Qing's tone had lost its previous excitement and became flat. Ningcheng sat there without moving. He felt a little anxious in his heart, and didn't know how to make Yu Qing believe his words. If Yu Qing didn't believe him, it was completely normal. If he had said these words to someone on Earth, that person would have stared at him and asked, have you read too many fantasy novels? If you don't go, I will call for help. Do you know that your appearance in this place might bring harm to my entire Yu clan? Yu Qing's voice finally turned cold. Ningcheng gave out a sigh and stood up. After he stood up, he suddenly understood. Yu Qing was his trace of Tao. He just wanted to find Yu Qing and help her. Why must Yu Qing believe his words? If Yu Qing could embark on the path of cultivation, she would eventually be able to understand his words. Yu Qing had sacrificed her life for him. Because of the Sea of Twilight, Yu Qing had engraved his figure in the depths of her memory. However, those were the Yu Qing from his previous life, not the current Yu Qing. In his previous life, Yu Qing might have had an unforgettable love and concern for him, but in this life, Yu Qing had her own world. He couldn't impose those things on Yu Qing. Thinking about this, Ningqing suddenly understood everything in his heart. What he wanted was not for Yu Qing to trust him and follow him, but to sweep away all the thorns and ants that stood in her way. Yu Qing would no longer have to die alone in an ice cave like she did in her previous life. I'm leaving. In the future, a person called Ningqing River Monarch will give you a ring and a cultivation technique. If you like it, you can cultivate according to it. If you don't like it, keep it as a souvenir. Then tell him that your word is my word. Saying this, Ningqing did not wait for Yu Qing to urge him again, and took the initiative to walk out of the loft. In Jiangsha City, even if Yu Qing did not cultivate, once he destroyed the Wishing Life Temple, with the little beggar and the Mei siblings looking after her, Yu Qing would not suffer any losses. As for the ring, once Yu Qing cultivated to the soul essence realm, she would naturally be able to open it. Yu Qing was a star-gatherer realm expert in her previous life. Even if she relied on the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, she should be able to cultivate to the soul essence realm. As long as she cultivated to the soul essence realm, she could open the ring and find all kinds of cultivation resources inside. As for the little beggar, Ningqing believed that he would not touch Yu Qing's ring. The cultivation technique that he gave to the little beggar did not have any problems. There was only one restriction that could not be opened, and that was the ring that he gave to Yu Qing. If one day, the little beggar opened Yu Qing's ring, that day would be the day that the little beggar's cultivation would be wasted. Although he believed in the little beggar, Ningqing had only been together with the little beggar for less than a month. He had seen too many people with big changes in their personalities. Whether the little beggar's personality would change or not, he did not know. If he had not fallen on that day, he would have been able to sense all of this. If he fell, then everything else would just be illusory, and there would not be any difference between gains and losses. Now he only had one thing to do, and that was to kill the headmaster of the Wishing Life Temple. After killing the headmaster of the Wishing Life Temple, the followers of the Wishing Life Temple would fall apart. Ningqing did not believe that no one in the Jiangsha city would take the opportunity to hit him while he was down. Once the Jiangsha city completely calmed down, he estimated that it would take more than a year. With more than a year's time, the strength of the little beggar would be enough to establish a foothold in the Jiangsha city. The largest place in the Jiangsha city, with the most majestic aura, was not the city master's mansion, nor was it any other chamber of commerce. Rather, it was a temple, the Wishing Life Temple. He heard that when the Wishing Life Temple was first built, there was an auspicious cloud floating in the void, and within the cloud, there was even a chanting sound that made people worship it. In addition to that, many people also saw 4 golden characters in the middle of the cloud, Wishing Life Emperor. Later, a nameless hooligan started to raise money to build a temple. He did not expect that many people in the Jiangsha city would respond, and the hooligan quickly raised the first sum of money. Many people thought that the hooligan would take the money for his own enjoyment, but no one expected that he would actually start to build a temple. Everyone thought that this person was very benevolent and righteous, so they gave him the name Run-E. With the response of many people, the temple was quickly built, and it was called the Wishing Life Temple. The crazed increase in the number of followers in the Jiangsha city directly threatened the position of the city master of the Jiangsha city. The city master immediately found an excuse to demolish the temple. Unexpectedly, just as the city master started to demolish the temple, the lightning above the Wishing Life Temple struck him and killed him on the spot. Because of this incident, the Wishing Life Temple grew even more prosperous. In less than 100 years, it became the most majestic place in the Jiangsha city. Moreover, the followers of the Wishing Life Temple also became an existence that no one dared to provoke. The new city master naturally did not take any action against the Wishing Life Temple, and just reported the matter to the king. But after so many years, no one dared to make a move against the Wishing Life Temple. As such, even if the city master of the Jiangsha city was an idiot, he would not dare to continue to act rashly. Headmaster Run-E had lived for more than 100 years, but not only did he not show any signs of aging, but he even looked more energetic. After the Wishing Life Temple became the #1 force in the Jiangsha city, an existence that no one dared to provoke, the followers of the Wishing Life Temple became increasingly arrogant and domineering. Anyone who dared to offend the followers of the Wishing Life Temple, or say something bad about them, would end up dead on the streets the next day. The Wishing Life Temple's headmaster had many wives and concubines. At the same time, the Wishing Life Temple's headmaster would perform 12 sacrificial ceremonies every year. Of the 12 sacrificial ceremonies, 10 were held outside the city, while 2 were held in the large square in front of the Wishing Life Temple. Each sacrificial ceremony would burn a young girl, while the believers of the Wishing Life Temple knelt down and prayed. When Ningcheng arrived at the periphery of the Wishing Life Temple, he immediately knew that his guess was correct. The Wishing Life Temple's headmaster was a disciple of the Blue True Hope tribe. Moreover, this person's status should not be low. Otherwise, he wouldn't have obtained a cultivation method like the Life of Predestined Wish. Emperor Lord Wishing Life obviously came out because of this cultivation method. Outside the Wishing Life Temple, Ningcheng felt the same aura as the power of hope that he had felt when he went to the Blue True Hope tribe. It's just that this aura was a lot weaker than the aura of the Blue True Hope tribe. Ningcheng could hear all kinds of obscene sounds coming from inside the Wishing Life Temple from the periphery. Ningcheng didn't feel surprised about this. The cultivation method cultivated by the Blue True Hope tribe had already gone astray, and wasn't a genuine fate spirit technique. For them, as long as they could obtain the power of hope from their followers and enhance their strength, everything else was secondary. This kind of shortcut cultivation method had too many hidden dangers. What made Ningcheng feel regretful was that he had lost all his strength and couldn't catch the hidden soul essence that used the power of hope to enhance its strength. Ningcheng didn't feel anxious. The array flags and array discs he brought with him were just ordinary things. If he didn't combine them, they wouldn't work at all. Not only that, but after combining these things, he also needed to arrange a spiritual gathering array. Ningcheng remained patient. He hid in the periphery and arranged array flags one by one. He also carefully put down the array discs one by one. After a night, Ningcheng only managed to arrange less than a third of the array. During the day, believers kept coming to pray, and leaving behind some coins. Ningcheng still carefully arranged his array flags around the periphery of the Wishing Life Temple. After a full 3 days and 3 nights, Ningcheng finally finished arranging his trap and kill array. His trap and kill array had more than a dozen array discs combined with a pile of array flags. As long as he brought out the activation array flags for the spiritual gathering array and the trap and kill array, and then took control of the grand array, the people inside the grand array would never be able to escape. Ningcheng wasn't in a hurry to start. At least, he wouldn't do anything before he saw Renyi. His main goal in coming here was to kill Renyi. As long as he killed Renyi, someone from Jiangsha City would definitely follow him and attack this place. Ningcheng didn't have to wait long. At noon on the 4th day he saw Renyi. Renyi was easy to recognize. He wore a blue ribbon on his head, had short hair, and had a very special aquiline nose, which made it hard for people not to recognize him. Back in the Graceful Star mainland, Ningcheng had also been exposed to martial arts for a while. As soon as he saw Renyi, he knew that Renyi's strength was equivalent to a peak condensing reality realm powerhouse. Renyi also had more than a dozen people around him. These people all had overflowing essence, qi and spirit, which made them look extremely tyrannical. Ningcheng felt overjoyed in his heart. It seemed that these people were Renyi's powerful helpers. This time, not only could he kill Renyi, but he could also kill a group of powerhouses from the Wishing Life Temple. Once he killed these people, Bian Qianxing, this kind of idiot, would be the first to be killed. He wouldn't even need to worry about it. When Renyi walked to the middle of the public square, he suddenly felt something. His eyes immediately fell on the place where Ningcheng was hiding. Ningcheng did not hesitate for even half a moment, as he directly stood up, and simultaneously placed the several array flags in his hands in a fixed position. Chapter 1286. Not waiting for Renyi and the others to come over, the spiritual qi between heaven and earth suddenly converged together, and then the entire space turned gray. Even if Ningcheng had lost all of his strength, but with his attainments in the Tao of Arrays, Even if he used some dead branches to arrange an entrapment array, he could easily trap a powerhouse in the chi-gathering realm. Not to mention that he had spent so much effort to arrange this array. Although he told the little beggar that he might not be able to return. In fact, Ningqing was very clear that if Ren Yi's strength really did not reach the profound congealing realm, then his entrapment killing array could easily kill the other party. Unless something unexpected happened. In fact, in a place where there were no true cultivators, it was very difficult for something unexpected to happen. Someone sneak attacked. Ren Yi's tearing voice came out, and then he saw countless wind blades sweeping over. Even if he tried to avoid them, in a short period of time, the wind blades cut open a few bloody wounds. A slightly weaker follower beside him accidentally had his neck cut by a wind blade and directly fell to the ground dead. Hearing Ren Yi's tearing scream, hundreds of thugs with blades instantly rushed out of the temple. They came out to help, but when they arrived at the public square, they realized that they could not find any opponents. The array formation arranged by Ningqing, they could not even see it, not to mention trying to break it. In just a dozen breaths, these thugs who rushed to the public square were all drawn into Ningqing's entrapment killing array. Ren Yi's body was covered with more and more scars. He knew that he had met a powerhouse and quickly shouted, "Which side's hero is it? If this run has neglected anything, then this run will do his best to satisfy this friend." Ningqing's figure emerged from the trap and kill array. As he looked at Ren Yi and the many thugs in the distance who were dodging the wind edges, and spoke in a calm tone. "You are blind. To even dare to forcibly propose marriage to Yuqing, do you think a pig like you is worthy?" Ren Yi finally understood what the problem was, and immediately felt regret in his heart. He did not regret forcing Yuqing to marry him, but regretted that before he was ready to marry Yuqing, he did not investigate the strength behind Yuqing. If he had escaped this time, he would have burned all the people in the Yu clan to ashes. As for Yuqing, he would have made her suffer. "Friend, I was indeed blind in this matter. Please be magnanimous and remove this killing formation." Before Ren Yi could finish his sentence, a wind blade pierced his chest, causing him to cry out in pain. Ningqing lightly spoke up, "You're quite good, even knowing that this is a killing array." "All right, I'll be merciful and let you be a little happier." Not waiting for Ren Yi to feel happy, Ningqing once again brought out several array flags from his hands. The originally sparse wind blades instantly became denser, and waves of miserable screams rang out. In just a few minutes, everyone in the square was killed by the wind blades. Ren Yi staggered, covered in blood as he pointed at Ningqing and spoke up. "Emperor Lord will not let you go." Ningqing showed a faint smile. "You'd better find a way to reincarnate. I'm not afraid of your emperor, so don't try to scare me with some emperor. Ren Yi's eyes almost split apart from rage, and he muttered, "Imperial monarch, save this disciple's life. This disciple, Ren Yi, will offer the purest wish energy soul of the Sand City's Yu clan Yuqing." But before he could finish his prayer, Ren Yi could no longer hold on. A wind blade sliced through his neck and directly chopped off his head. Then he fell to the ground. Ningqing put away the array flags and looked at the corpses on the ground with a calm heart. A primordial chaos holy emperor had spent so much effort to kill a few ants. For him, it was nothing to be proud of. In fact, he even felt a sense of failure. He turned around and slowly walked out of the Life Blessing Temple. He planned to tell the little beggar trio to cultivate well and take care of Yuqing. As for Jiangsha City, he didn't plan to stay. Staying here might affect Yuqing's mood. At this time, he had already lost his cultivation. As for whether the Dao marks left by Yuqing on his body were still there, he didn't know. He wanted to continue searching by himself. Since the recalling Bodhi seed brought him here, there must be a reason. He killed Life Blessing Temple's headmaster Ren Yi. As long as Jiangsha City's city lord wasn't an idiot, he would know what to do. Ningqing didn't spend much time killing headmaster Ren Yi and the group of thugs around Ren Yi in the Life Blessing Temple. Most of the time was used to arrange the trap and kill array. At this time, when Ningqing walked out of the Life Blessing Temple and entered the city, no one knew what happened in the Life Blessing Temple. Just as Ningqing was about to enter the little beggar's residence, he suddenly felt a powerful spiritual sense force sweeping over him. Startled, He quickly took out several array flags from his backpack and held them in his hands. At this time, he had no other way but to borrow the Tao of array formations. A mass of gray clouds passed over his head, and an extremely bad feeling abruptly emerged. Ning Cheng remembered the prayer of Headmaster Ren Yi before he died. Others might not care about it, but he had seen the mysteries of the Blue True Hope tribe, and knew that the Blue True Hope tribe's cultivation method was extremely powerful. Even if the later disciples of the Blue True Hope tribe cultivated in the wrong direction, it wouldn't be simple. If the remnant soul of the Blue True Hope tribe in Jiangsha City really had some skills, maybe it would remember Ren Yi's last words and want to grab the pure power of hope to advance. Ning Cheng had just thought of this when he saw a lot of people rushing towards the Life Blessing Temple. He didn't need to ask at all as he heard the words of the crowd. The Emperor of Life Blessing has manifested. The Emperor's immortal spirit must be personally worshipped. Yes, I also saw it. It seems that Yu Clan's Yu Qing was taken away. From today onwards, I am a loyal believer of the Emperor of Life Blessing. I will come here every day to pray for the Emperor. Ning Cheng didn't listen to the rest of the words and rushed towards the Life Blessing Temple. Ning Cheng didn't leave the Life Blessing Temple for long. In just a short time, the public square in front of the Life Blessing Temple was filled with countless people. Although it was very noisy on the road, everyone quieted down after arriving here. Everyone stared at the middle of the public square in shock, where hundreds of corpses were lying. I understand. The Emperor is angry. Someone killed many of the Emperor's followers here. Who's so bold? I saw Healy's body. He was the most powerful person around the headmaster, yet he was killed. When the headmaster comes back, it won't be. Don't talk. Be careful of the Emperor's anger. I saw Headmaster Ren's head. Although some people said not to talk, some people still screamed out. At this time, not only the entire Jiangsha City's forces had gathered here, even the city lord had arrived. Jiangsha City's city lord immediately saw Ren Yi's body and head. He felt overjoyed in his heart. With so many powerhouses dying in the Life Blessing Temple, he could easily wipe out this force. Jiangsha City's headmaster had turned into a foul atmosphere, and there was no longer any justice. As long as he eradicated this force in Jiangsha City, he would definitely receive the attention of the state lord. However, the surrounding discussions in Yu Qing, who had been swept away by the gray clouds, made him feel as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. Ren Yi died, but the Emperor was still here. The reason why the Life Blessing Temple existed was not because of Ren Yi, but because of the Emperor. Obviously, no one did anything. Yet, Yu Qing ended up tied to the sacrificial pillar in the middle of the Life Blessing Temple by invisible ropes. The public square and its surroundings were completely quiet. At this time, even the discussions had disappeared. Some of the believers even knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. Ning Cheng squeezed to the front and felt extremely anxious. He knew that his trap and kill array could deal with Ren Yi, but it did not have any hope of dealing with the remnant soul of the Life Blessing Emperor. Moreover, he could not untie the ropes bound by Dao Charm. At this moment, some of the believers suddenly shouted, "Let's hurry up and get some firewood to offer sacrifices to the Emperor." Headmaster Ren Yi must have not offered sacrifices in time, which angered the Emperor. With this believer's shout, some of the believers immediately went to look for firewood. The more people there were, the more power they could muster. In just a short time, Yu Qing's feet were covered with firewood. Ning Cheng felt anxious and angry at the same time. These believers were all mortals, and he could not explain it clearly. Moreover, he had no way to stop them. Even if he tried to stop them, the remnant soul of the Emperor would only end up with a pile of firewood. "Emperor, we will use our most pious worship to offer the purest soul sacrifice to the Emperor." The first believer knelt on the ground, and even took out a fire. Everyone knew that another Ren Yi was about to appear. As long as this fire was lit, this believer would become the next Ren Yi. Ning Cheng could no longer bear it. Even if he knew that his trap and kill array couldn't kill the countless believers here, he still had to make a move. A few array flags were silently thrown down by him, and the sky suddenly turned gray. More than a dozen wind blades swept over quickly, killing more than a dozen believers who were kneeling on the ground and preparing to light a fire. Such a scene immediately scared the crowd into retreating, and no one dared to come forward to light a fire. Boom boom, the sound of thunder rang out in the air, and a faint flame also appeared above Yuqing. Ningqing knew that he couldn't wait any longer. The remnant soul of the Blue True Hope tribe didn't need to wait for the believers to light a fire. As long as this flame ignited the firewood, he would no longer be able to do anything. At this time, Ningqing was too lazy to think about anything else and simply rushed out. Because of the previous wind blades, the crowd retreated even further, leaving a large open space between Yuqing and the crowd. As soon as Ningqing rushed out of the crowd, everyone immediately saw him. What is he doing? Doesn't he know that the wind blades will kill him if he gets close? Do you think it's so easy to become the sacred temple's headmaster? Only such a fearless person has the chance to become a headmaster. Yuqing, who was tied to the altar, also looked at Ningqing in shock. She naturally knew Ningqing. A few days ago he went to find her and said that she was his Dao mark. Why did he come out at this time? Chapter 1287. Ningqing had seen the Hope clan's cultivation method, and it was indeed a branch of the destiny cultivation method. It was just that after cultivating it, it had completely deformed and turned into the destiny cultivation method. In addition to self-cultivation, this cultivation method could also enhance one's strength through a shortcut. This shortcut was to absorb the power of hope from the believers. Ali had also briefly explained the power of hope cultivation method to Ningqing, so Ningqing roughly understood the cultivation path of the destiny cultivation method. The more devout the believer, the purer and more powerful the power of hope. For the remnant soul cultivating the destiny cultivation method, the purity of the power of hope was crucial. The remnant soul's power of thought swept over, and the dry firewood on the altar under Yuqing's feet suddenly burst into flames. Ningqing felt extremely anxious in his heart, but his expression remained unusually calm. He even had a slight smile on his face as he chanted softly, "If you don't know your destiny, you can't cultivate your body. When the sky is out of season, the sun and moon lose their light. When the earth is out of season, no grass and trees grow. Life without a wish, without the foundation of cultivation, Tao intent becomes desolate. I pray with my pure soul as the destiny cultivation method. I am willing to use my life to pray for the Emperor Lord, to sacrifice my life for the Emperor Lord." Ningqing's chants continued as he stepped on the dry firewood and stepped onto the altar. The flames burned Ningqing's clothes in an instant before starting to burn his hair and skin. The reason why Ningqing dared to do this was that he understood the destiny cultivation method too well. No matter how pure the power of hope was, it wasn't as powerful as the devout power of hope that was voluntarily sacrificed. Yuqing's soul was pure, but Yuqing was obviously unwilling to be burned to death, unwilling to use her soul and life to strengthen the remnant soul cultivating the destiny cultivation method. Ningqing, on the other hand, was different. When he chanted this, he was even willing to stand up and offer his life to the remnant soul of the destiny cultivation method. This was what the remnant soul of the Hope clan wanted the most. Ningqing had lost his cultivation, but he was still a Dao fusion powerhouse. Moreover, the vaguely powerful power of hope made the remnant soul of the Hope clan throw Yuqing aside. How could such a pure and willing powerful soul and sacrificial life be mixed with other souls? Therefore, after Dan Ningqing stepped onto the altar, he easily pulled Yuqing away from the pillar. "Hurry up and leave." Yuqing smelled the burning smell on Ningqing's skin and cried out anxiously. Whether or not the words spoken by Ningqing were true or false, she was not willing to consider it. A person who risked his life to save her, even if he was lying, was sincere to her. For as long as she could remember, no one had ever voluntarily burned to death to save her. The flames had not yet reached her body, but she could already feel the torment. Moreover, Ningqing's body had already been ignited, so how could she bear this kind of pain and suffering? But she could only helplessly watch Ningqing get burned by the fire in front of her. This kind of feeling was simply unbearable for her. She would rather be the one being burned. The tearing pain spread from Ningqing's skin to his heart, before penetrating into the deepest part of his soul. Even if Ning Cheng had endured all kinds of terrible pain during body forging, it was not as torturous as this burning flame. Previously, when he was tempering his body, he could still circulate his cultivation technique to resist it, and he could even use pills to help him. But now he was forcing the flames to burn him. Big brother Ning. Big brother. The voices of the beggar and the Mei siblings sounded extremely anxious. The three of them also ran over from afar, apparently wanting to pull out the fire and save Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng, hurry up and leave. I believe in your words. Yu Qing almost burst into tears. She didn't know where she got the courage to drag Ning Cheng out of the fire. Ning Cheng knew that he definitely couldn't leave. If he left, how could the remnant soul cultivating the Hope Clan's cultivation technique give up? From the fact that the flames didn't burn Yu Qing, he understood it very clearly. He grabbed Yu Qing's arm, twisted his face, and spoke in a hoarse voice that was almost inaudible. You don't have to take it to heart. You don't owe me anything. In my previous life, you froze to death for me. In this life, let me burn to death for you. He was worried that if Yu Qing's cultivation succeeded in the future, she would also have Dao marks in her heart. After saying this, he directly grabbed Yu Qing and threw her out with all his strength. At the same time he shouted, "Little beggar, the three of you remember, if anyone dares to bully Yu Qing, kill without mercy." No. Yu Qing didn't even manage to finish her words before Ning Cheng threw her over the fire towards the three people. Bang! The moment Ning Cheng threw Yu Qing out, the fire completely erupted, and the people outside could no longer see Ning Cheng's shadow. It was like a small volcano. The little beggar and the other two supported Yu Qing as they ran over. They stared blankly at the mountain of flames, dumbfounded. They could only stare at this kind of flame. When Yu Qing was thrown out, and the flames burst out, a kacha sound rang out, and Ning Cheng felt as if a shackle had suddenly cracked and shattered in his heart. Endless Dao charm aura gathered, and his spiritual consciousness, which couldn't be released before, suddenly stretched out. Spirit essence rose crazily, and one Dao charm after another condensed around Ning Cheng. A kind of ecstasy welled up in Ning Cheng's heart. His Dao marks healed the moment he sent Yu Qing out, replacing her in the fire. At the same time, his cultivation also rose wildly. Once his cultivation recovered, this kind of mortal fire wouldn't have any effect on him even if it burned for thousands of years. Dao charm filled the air, and his cultivation recovered. The burning body was no longer suffering in the flames, but a kind of nirvana, and the power of his body also quickly returned. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness immediately swept out, and the next moment, he saw the remnant soul hiding above the life-wishing temple. Ning Cheng did not hesitate to raise his hand and grab it. A tearing scream erupted, and Zhu Ming's remnant soul ended up bound by Ning Cheng's space. Unable to resist Ning Cheng's palm, Zhu Ming's remnant soul turned into ashes, along with his spiritual soul. The beautiful life-wishing temple collapsed crazily at this moment, and turned into ruins in the blink of an eye. Rolling thunder rumbled in the air, and Ning Cheng just wanted to roar. His cultivation had recovered. The Dao traces had been repaired, and his cultivation had recovered. His strength had directly reached the late-stage primordial chaos realm. Although he hadn't touched the Dao integration realm yet, it was only a matter of time. With the help of the recalling Bodhi seed, he had already seen the way to Dao integration. A terrifying spatial vortex pressure swept over, and the surrounding space began to crack. The terrifying suction of the vortex seemed as if it would suck Ning Cheng into the void in the next moment. Ning Cheng knew what was going on. It was because his strength had recovered, and the Dao charm law was too powerful for this interface to bear. But Ning Cheng didn't care. With his strength, he could easily restrain his Dao charm, and establish a foothold in this low-level interface. Just when Ning Cheng wanted to restrain his Dao charm law aura, a familiar and terrifying Dao charm aura rushed towards him. Ning Cheng's heart trembled. He was too familiar with this Dao charm aura. Back in the Great Change Realm's underground abyss, he had been caught by that handprint once. At that time, that handprint was far less powerful than this one. This time, he felt the Dao charm aura again, and it was thousands of times stronger than the handprint from back then. Hurry up and leave. I can't stay in this place. This was Ning Cheng's only thought. As soon as he had this thought, He didn't put up any resistance and let the crazy Dao charm vortex suck him away. This Dao charm vortex's suction was because his cultivation was too powerful, and it didn't allow him to stay in a low-level interface. Ningcheng could resist it, but he didn't dare to resist it now. Once he resisted the vortex's suction, that familiar aura of the handprint would definitely hit this interface. Regardless of whether he was the other party's opponent or not, that terrifying imposing aura would definitely smash this low-level interface into pieces. After Ningcheng rushed into the void following the Dao charm vortex, he felt the powerful aura following him like maggots in the tarsal bone. Instead, Ningcheng breathed in a sigh of relief. This person's strength definitely far exceeded his own, at least by more than a few levels. But as long as this person followed him and didn't care about the low-level interface where Sand City was located, it would be fine. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the ability to stop this person. Ningcheng frantically escaped through the void, and that aura crazily followed behind him. Ningcheng didn't know how many interfaces he had escaped through or how many voids he had crossed, but that handprint still followed him. It was too slow. Ningcheng knew that the powerful aura following him was just the perception of that powerhouse. The reason for this was that the powerhouse was extremely far away from him. Once that powerhouse caught up to him, he would never be able to escape. When another spatial vortex appeared in front of Ningcheng, Ningcheng directly entered the mysterious yellow bead, and let the mysterious yellow bead draw itself into the spatial vortex. The mysterious yellow bead had long since become his. Without his consent, no one would be able to sense it. Sand City at this moment fell into complete silence. Ningcheng replacing Yuqing and entering the fire wasn't a big deal. Thunder roared in the sky, and even though everyone was standing in an open space, they could still feel the pressure of death from the rolling thunder. Fortunately, that pressure disappeared in an instant. Later, everyone could only see and feel the collapse of the Wishing Life Temple. After a long time, when the oppressive aura of death disappeared, someone in the crowd suddenly whispered, "Hey, why do I feel that Emperor Wishing Life no longer exists? I feel it too, and I no longer have the urge to kneel down and pray like before." No one said anything about it, but when someone mentioned it, it immediately caused another voice. That headmaster did all kinds of evil, and finally suffered the wrath of the heavens. This place was also smashed to pieces by the heavenly thunder. Yes, these people did all kinds of evil. One voice turned into 10 turned into 100, and then into countless voices. The believers of Emperor Wishing Life began to retreat secretly, because they themselves had lost the desire to pray. The sparks had already lit up, and even if they retreated, there was no way to stop it. Countless people rushed towards those believers, and countless people started to fight. In the end, it was hard to tell who was a believer and who was not. Sand City's city master saw this scene but didn't care much about it. Instead, he calmly began to mobilize the army to quell the chaos. He knew that after this incident, Sand City would no longer have the monthly sacrifice, nor would it have the headmaster of Wishing Life Temple. On the chaotic public square, the people had already dispersed, leaving only bloodstains and chaos on the ground. Only Yuqing was still standing on the flattened altar, and behind her were the three people from the Little Beggars group. Dream, Ningcheng, altar, fire, past life, present life. These scenes constantly crisscrossed in her mind, and she couldn't tell which was real and which was fake. Only Ningcheng's words remained clear. You don't have to take it to heart. In my past life, you froze to death for me. In this life, let me burn to death for you. Chapter 1288. After the mysterious yellow bead entered the void vortex, Ningcheng even restrained his spiritual consciousness, not daring to penetrate it. The expert chasing him was too strong, so strong that he could not resist at all. Ningcheng also knew why the other party could find him. It was because his Dao marks had disappeared and his Dao heart had been perfected, allowing him to perceive his own great Dao aura. This kind of heaven and earth great Dao aura made the expert notice him. As long as he could escape from the expert's perception, the other party could not find him when he appeared again. At the same time, Ningcheng also clearly realized the gap between him and a peak expert. When this expert first caught him with a handprint across the endless void plain, he knew that he was not as good as the other party, but he did not think that he would always be inferior to the other party. Now that this expert appeared again, Ningcheng was sure that even if he succeeded in Dao integration, he would not be this person's opponent. This person was ridiculously strong. The creation realm experts in heavens beyond of heaven and earth could only be regarded as babies compared to this person. Perhaps only the expert who cleaved out that axe pattern could compete with this guy. It seemed that after the ancient creation war, there were still experts, but he just did not see them. In the vast void, a beautiful woman standing on a 9-petaled green lotus stopped in front of a void vortex with a frown. This was the expert who had chased Ningcheng before. She did not continue to rush into the vortex, even though the person she was chasing was just an ant to her. However, she knew very well that even if he rushed into the vortex and lost his aura, she would not be able to catch this ant. Whether it was the Dao integration ant or the ant who escaped into the void vortex, they both vaguely threatened her. She felt that these two people were extremely cunning and vigilant. Given time, when they grew up, they would definitely be disadvantageous to her. This feeling came from nowhere, but it was clear. Ever since she had obtained the green lotus of good fortune, her intuition had never been wrong. Unfortunately, my green lotus of good fortune is still missing 3 petals. The most important thing for me at this time should be to find the missing 3 green lotus petals. The woman muttered to herself after a long time. She never did meaningless things. Even if it was uncertain, she would not do it. Knowing that she might not be able to find Ningcheng, she turned around and took a step into the void. With her wisdom, even if she could not catch Ningcheng, she would at least have some clues about Ningcheng. For the first time, her Grand Dao handprint ended up getting blasted apart, causing her to lose the ability to sense Ningcheng's specific location. This time, no one interrupted her sensing of his aura. As such, she knew from where Ningcheng had escaped. Elder Sister Qing, from now on, your matters are our matters. Although Big Brother has passed away, but we will always remember Big Brother's words. The little beggar and Ningcheng had not been in contact for a long time, but he had already regarded Ningcheng as his only relative, not Ningcheng. At this time, he was still walking on the streets of Jiangsha City, thinking about where he could get some delicious food. But now, he could easily send a few strong men who provoked him flying with a punch. What he saw were those fearful gazes, and what he could feel was their strong self-confidence. Yu Qing's gaze was still fixed on the ruined altar. She didn't say anything. All kinds of voices were intertwining in her mind. A person who is willing to burn for her will speak to deceive her? Are you sad because your friends were burned to death? A pleasant and gentle voice appeared in the ears of the 4 beggars. Yu Qing also raised her head. When they saw the woman in a lavender dress standing in front of them, they were completely stunned. Even Yu Qing was shocked by this peerless charm. How could there be such a beautiful woman in the world? Although Yu Qing never cared about her appearance, she knew in her heart that there were only a few women who were more beautiful than her. But today, she finally saw a woman who was more beautiful than her. This woman standing in front of her even made her feel ugly. Fortunately, she had never cared about beauty or ugliness. This feeling only flashed by and disappeared. The woman in the purple dress also looked at Yu Qing in amazement. Yu Qing's beauty was definitely not inferior to hers. One had to know that Yu Qing had never cultivated, while she was a peak powerhouse in the vast universe. Her cultivation method would make her constantly perfect. Even so, she had no way to crush the mortal Yu Qing in appearance. From this, it could be seen how beautiful this woman was. "Why are you standing here?" the woman in the purple dress asked softly. "Big Brother Ningcheng is here. We are paying our respects to him," the little beggar replied in a daze. "Who is Ningcheng? Where did he come from?" "I don't know. I only know that Big Brother's courage is unparalleled." In just half an incense stick of time, the woman in the purple dress was disappointed and stopped asking questions. She knew that this person was called Ningcheng. She also knew Ningcheng's appearance. But it didn't matter. The 3 people also didn't know where Ningcheng came from, or who he was. Her spiritual sense penetrated the ring on the little beggar's hand. She could clearly see the things inside. They were all very ordinary cultivation resources. They had no meaning to her. The woman in the purple dress once again looked at Yu Qing. Your qualifications are very good. Your appearance also meets my requirements. Are you willing to follow behind me and become my disciple? Do you think people can fly? Yu Qing didn't directly answer whether she was willing or not. Instead, she asked an irrelevant question. The woman in the purple dress smiled slightly. A rainbow cloud appeared under her feet. The rainbow cloud lifted her up and suspended her in the air. I don't need to answer. You should know, right? Yu Qing's eyes suddenly showed excitement and trembling. That person can reincarnate, live for countless years, and even tear the void. Is it true? The woman in the purple dress raised her hand and grasped at the void. A deep void crack appeared in front of them. So what if he tore the void? As for reincarnation, it's naturally true. Live for countless years? That's just a short-lived ghost. I understand. I'm sorry. Yu Qing murmured. The woman in the purple dress frowned. Are you willing to become my disciple? If not, I don't have time to wait for you. If you are willing, I will take you out of here immediately. As she spoke, a faint Dao charm handprint appeared in the woman's hand. As long as Yu Qing refused, not to mention Sand City, she would even completely crush this planet. In the vast universe, no one would dare to refuse her. Anyone who refused her would either die or perish. In her heart, no matter how vast and majestic the universe was, it would only be a speck of dust under her control in the future. She was destined to become a creation realm expert who ruled over everything. No one could stop her, and no one was worthy of being her equal. Having Yu Qing as her disciple would be her greatest honor. Yu Qing took a deep breath and bowed. I, Yu Qing, am willing to become Senior's disciple and follow you everywhere. The woman in the purple dress nodded and said with a smile, very good. You have made the best choice in your life. Sister Qing. The little beggar's soul finally returned to his body as he hurriedly called out. Yu Qing's expression returned to normal as she said, Thank you, the three of you. I will leave this place with my master. Take care. Sister Qing, this is your ring. The little beggar hurriedly handed the ring in his hand to Yu Qing. His big brother had only wanted them to protect Yu Qing. Now that Yu Qing had become a disciple, and her master was so powerful, she naturally did not need their protection. Yu Qing had just received the ring when the woman in the purple dress swept her hand and brought her into the endless void, disappearing without a trace. The little beggar and the other two stared blankly at the disappearing void crack. Their eyes were filled with horror. When Ning Cheng came out of the mysterious yellow bead, he knew that the powerhouse that followed him like a maggot had already left. Although he felt relieved, he also felt a little lost. After fleeing for a while, he couldn't remember the specific location of the Sand City. Even if he wanted to go back to see Yu Qing, he couldn't find the way back. After a brief consideration, Ning Cheng decided to find the location of the 5 Grand Realms first, then return to the Grand Essence Realm, and finally head to the mysterious yellow heavens beyond. He didn't know if Zhong Wuchen could come out of the Jiaoliang Sea. If this fellow could come out, he would definitely go to the mysterious yellow heavens beyond to see him. But if he couldn't come out, he had no other way. Zhao Yonghai's axe line's killing intent. Even he couldn't resist it. That powerful axe line's killing intent most likely wasn't any weaker than the powerhouse chasing him. He could only tell Zhong Wuchen in his heart to pray for his own good. Ning Qing once again brought out the Starry Sky Wheel. Although he knew where the Starry Sky Wheel's artifact spirit was, it wasn't the right time to look for it. In the depths of the Grand Essence Realm's Grand Essence Demon Vein, a beautiful woman knelt on the ground in front of a dark brown hall under the Ring Immortal Island with a worried look on her face. In the middle of the hall, an ancient book with a radius of nearly 10 feet floated in the air. 5 ancient words were written on the book, Grand Essence Earth Secret Art. Tao Lord Diyun, Eowu has come to disturb you, but I have no choice. Tao Lord once calculated that the Grand Essence Realm would soon be restored, and Tao Lord would return to the Grand Essence Realm. But now that the Grand Essence Realm is about to fall under the control of the human race, and my Grand Essence Demon Vein is gradually being eroded, the Grand Essence Realm shows no signs of restoration. What can we do? The woman's tone carried a hint of helplessness. After a long time, an almost inaudible voice suddenly emerged from the ancient book in the middle of the hall. The time has not yet come. Don't worry. Yes, this disciple will take her leave. The beautiful woman bowed and stood up before retreating again. Ningcheng, who didn't even know where he was, naturally didn't know what had happened in the Grand Essence realm. He controlled the starry sky wheel to move forward quickly in the void. As long as he could find one person, he would be able to find out where he was. Ningcheng had good luck. In just a few days, he saw a low-grade airship-type weapon. The airship contained 3 people, 1 man and 2 women. These 3 people didn't have high cultivation, and the woman with the highest cultivation hadn't even reached Tao sculpting realm. Chapter 1289. The airship quickly stopped on seeing Ningcheng stopping them. The woman in the lead then cupped her fists towards Ningcheng and spoke. "This Tao friend, may I know how you can block our airship?" Ningcheng quickly cupped his fists and spoke. "May I ask where the few of you are going?" Rather than asking where they were, they might as well ask where the destination of the spaceship was. The woman did not feel the killing intent from Ningcheng and spoke up in a slow tone. "We are heading to Buzhou Peak. Could it be that Tao friend is also heading to Buzhou Peak?" Buzhou Peak? Ningcheng immediately thought of Mount Buzhou, but whether or not Mount Buzhou truly existed, Ningcheng did not know. After he started cultivating, he realized that his cultivation technique was completely different from the deities in ancient Chinese mythology. Many people are going to Buzhou Peak? What's so special about that place? If it was another place like the Jiaoliang Mountain that was looking for cultivation resources, Ningcheng would not care about it. "Taoist friend, have you never heard of Buzhou Peak?" the woman asked doubtfully. Ningcheng spoke up in an apologetic tone. "I just lost my way a moment ago, and really did not know about the Buzhou Peak. I would like to ask the several Tao friends to help me." After the woman heard Ningcheng's words, she retracted her gaze from Ningcheng's starry sky wheel. She felt that Ningcheng's starry sky wheel was several levels higher than their flight-type weapons. A person who could use this kind of flying magic treasure must not be a simple person. Buzhou Peak stands in a part of the void. It originally did not have a name. This was because other than a huge axe-shaped groove at the peak of Buzhou Peak, there was no god spiritual energy, nor were there any god spiritual herbs. This name is just a random name someone came up with after seeing this groove, the woman explained. Ningcheng was even more puzzled as he asked, "If that is the case, then why is it not called the axe-shaped peak, but rather the Buzhou Peak?" The woman smiled faintly and said, "Because you have never been to the Buzhou Peak, you do not understand what is going on. In the beginning, no one could tell that Buzhou Feng's axe-shaped groove was an axe-shaped groove. As time passed, the axe-shaped groove gradually formed. The reason why the name wasn't well chosen was because it meant that they weren't completely similar. Recently, he heard that Buzhou Peak's axe-shaped groove had been perfected, and was becoming more and more like a giant axe. The more perfect the axe-shaped groove was, the less anyone would be able to approach it. I reckon that even if it completely turns into an axe-shaped groove, no one will change the name. So that's how it is. Then, are you going to take a look at the axe-shaped groove?" Ningcheng asked. Previously, this woman had said that Buzhou Peak didn't have any spiritual qi or spiritual grasses. The woman replied, "That's not it. Recently the Unzao Peak's axe row groove has gradually formed. After taking shape, the axe-shaped groove exuded an endless aura of the Tao charm of the heavens and earth. It was said that it was very easy to comprehend the laws of the heavens and earth in that place, allowing one to comprehend one's own Tao in advance. The few of us are about to reach Tao molding, so we want to try our luck." "Where are they from? Is there a void position jade scroll that leads to Buzhou Peak? If there is, can you let me carve a copy?" Ningcheng asked again. The woman who had been talking to Ningcheng could feel that Ningcheng's strength was very strong. After listening to Ningcheng's words, she immediately took out 2 jade strips and handed them to Ningcheng. "Everyone in the void is a friend. It's just a map. Tao friend, feel free to carve it." Ningcheng thanked her once again, as he took out the 2 jade strips, and quickly engraved 2 more, while returning the 2 jade strips to the woman. One of the two jade strips did indeed lead to Buzhou Peak, while the other showed the place they came from. It was a planet in the void called the Ma-Ya Celestial Realm. Seeing that Ningqing didn't look for trouble, the woman felt relieved. She put away the jade strip and said goodbye to Ningqing before disappearing into the vast void. Ningqing didn't plan to go to the Ma-Ya Celestial Realm. Instead, he took out the void-positioned jade strip from Buzhou Peak. Buzhou Peak wasn't too far from here. With the speed of his starry sky wheel, he estimated that he could reach Buzhou Peak in a day. Buzhou Peak was just a nameless mountain in the void, but it got its name because of an axe-shaped groove that kept improving. If it weren't for the woman saying that the groove on Buzhou Peak had completely transformed into an axe-shaped groove and exuded the aura of the Tao charm of the heavens and earth, which allowed people to comprehend the Tao of the heavens and earth, Ningqing wouldn't have wanted to go to Buzhou Peak. It reminded him of the good fortune indestructible axe. Ningqing had already felt the Tao charm of the good fortune indestructible axe. Among the good fortune treasures, the good fortune indestructible axe was most likely the best offensive weapon. He decided to go to Buzhou Peak to feel the Tao aura of the heaven and earth coming from the axe-shaped groove. If it was the indestructible axe, then what did it mean for the groove to grow here? If such a groove was not man-made, then it must have been formed naturally by the good fortune indestructible axe's artifact spirit. Since it was called the indestructible axe, how could it be so easy to turn it into nirvana? With the starry sky wheel driving through the void, Ningqing arrived at the periphery of Buzhou Peak in less than a day. As soon as he arrived, Ningqing felt the strong Tao aura of the heaven and earth. The Tao charm almost turned solid, covering the sky and surrounding Buzhou Peak. Just as the woman said, Buzhou Peak towered into the clouds and looked majestic. Countless starry sky cultivators sat at the foot of Buzhou Peak, feeling the Tao charm aura of the heaven and earth. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness swept out and quickly found that the closer one got to the peak, the higher the cultivation. His consciousness slowly extended towards the peak of Buzhou Peak. As expected, the closer he got to the peak, the greater the presence of the great path of heaven and earth. Just as Ningqing's spiritual consciousness approached the peak, a powerful aura of the grand Tao of heaven and earth blocked his spiritual consciousness. The Tao charm of heaven and earth's grand Tao roared and buzzed within his sea of consciousness, causing Ningqing's sea of consciousness to feel waves of pain. He quickly withdrew his spiritual sense. If he didn't withdraw his spiritual sense, his sea of consciousness would be injured. The formation of the axe-shaped groove in this place was probably not that simple. Ningqing took out a chicken-sized fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe, and felt that the Tao charm aura within it was exactly the same as the Tao charm aura emanating from the Buzhou Peak. Ningqing easily judged that it was formed from the aura of the indestructible axe Tao. More and more people arrived. These people were all frantically searching for a place to comprehend the aura of the great Tao that seeped out from the axe-shaped notch. Due to the aura of the grand Tao of heaven and earth that was extremely easy to comprehend, some cultivators would break through from time to time. This further stimulated the cultivators who came to comprehend the grand Tao laws. Ningqing observed for a long time before withdrawing his spiritual consciousness. He didn't have a good impression of the indestructible axe. Back then, the axe line's killing intent from the indestructible axe had almost killed him. Since he already had the mysterious yellow bead, it would be best for him to avoid the traces formed by this good fortune treasure. Just when Ningqing wanted to leave, a whirlpool of Tao charm suddenly formed at the top of Buzhou Peak. These Tao charm whirlpools squeezed the surrounding space with a rumbling sound. Ningqing suddenly had a premonition in his heart, and immediately sent out a burst of spiritual consciousness. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness forcibly blasted open the Tao charm whirlpool at the top of Buzhou Peak, and landed on the axe's groove. The terrifying axe line's Tao charm suppressed it, causing Ningqing's sea of consciousness to feel a sharp pain. He quickly withdrew his spiritual consciousness. Just as he retracted his spiritual consciousness, the axe-shaped notch suddenly rose up slowly, and formed a huge illusory axe-shaped shadow at the top of Buzhou Peak. The rumbling of the Tao charm in the surrounding space turned even more rapid, just like a war drum gathering soldiers. Some of the weaker cultivators, who had climbed a little higher than Buzhou Peak, directly exploded under the rapid rumbling of the Dao charm, and turned into a mist of blood. Even more cultivators started to flee. At this time, not to mention comprehending the traces of the heaven and earth grand Dao, even if they were just a little bit slower, they would be torn apart by the rapid rumbling of the Dao charm. Boom boom boom. The rumbling sounds of the Dao charm permeated out from the top of Buzhou Peak, and quickly covered the entire vast void before seeping out to every corner. Not good. Ningqing immediately understood what was going on. This was the same as the altar of forefathers' library he had seen before, which was also collecting the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe. Ningqing had once wondered if someone had collected the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe through other means. Unexpectedly, it didn't take long for this matter to become a reality. It's just that compared to this axe-shaped notch, the altar of forefathers' library looked like a baby learning to walk. Ningqing had just thought of this when his ring strangely exploded. The fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe, which he had temporarily stored in his ring, flew out and rushed directly towards the top of Buzhou Peak. Moreover, some of the cultivation resources temporarily stored in the ring were squeezed into nothingness by the shattering space. Ningqing sucked in a breath of cold air. If he couldn't control his own ring with his strength, then other people could forget about it. Fortunately, the fragments of the indestructible axe in his mysterious yellow bead had not been affected. From the looks of it, although the heaven and earth Dao charm laws contained within the indestructible axe were strong, it was not as strong as his perfected mysterious yellow bead. At this time, Ningqing immediately thought of Zhong Wuqian. Did this fellow already know that such a thing would happen? That's why he gave him the fragments of the indestructible axe. But although Zhong Wuqian was an old man, he shouldn't have known about these things, right? Ningqing's thoughts had just turned to this point when he saw the endless fragments of the indestructible axe flying towards him from all directions like locusts. It was a three-dimensional scene, and Ningqing couldn't help but record it with a crystal ball. At this moment, Ningqing didn't know how many people's rings had shattered, losing the treasures they had painstakingly accumulated over a lifetime, or how many people had fallen because of their rings shattering. After all, not everyone was like him, possessing a powerful body refinement technique. Even if his ring exploded, it wouldn't even leave a hole in his clothes. The Dao charm rumbled and stretched out, and more fragments of the indestructible axe flew towards him. The indestructible axe at the top of Buzhou Peak grew more and more condensed, and the real good fortune indestructible axe gradually took shape in front of Ningqing. The majestic aura of the axe intent slowly condensed, and many cultivators on Buzhou Peak exploded one after another. The good fortune indestructible axe completely swallowed up their Dao charm. In a place countless interfaces away from Buzhou Peak, Xingxi, who was carrying Yuqing, suddenly stopped. She stared through the vast and endless void and murmured with a dignified expression, "Did the good fortune indestructible axe condense again?" But soon, her expression changed, and she turned around and quickly disappeared in the opposite direction of Buzhou Peak. Chapter 1290. The giant axe suspended at the top of Buzhou Peak exuded a monstrous battle intent. Even with Ningqing's late-stage primordial chaos strength, this battle intent still affected him. Dao charm flowed around his domain, preventing this battle intent from penetrating it. When no more fragments flew over, the indestructible axe had fully taken shape. Fortunately, the indestructible axe was suspended horizontally, not with the axe blade facing down. Although the battle intent was monstrous, it was still within control. If the axe blade was facing down, Ningqing even wondered if he would have brought out the good fortune divine spear. This giant axe's battle intent was too terrifying. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness fell on the indestructible axe's axe blade, and found a few missing corners. Even the blade of the axe was missing. He knew very well what was going on. The missing corners were hidden in his mysterious yellow bead. It seemed that no matter how powerful the indestructible axe condensed, it couldn't tear through his mysterious yellow bead and let the fragments of the indestructible axe fly out. The mysterious yellow bead and the indestructible axe were treasures of the same level. The indestructible axe could make his ordinary ring explode, but it couldn't do anything to the mysterious yellow bead. Brother Ning carefully retreated. He knew that the indestructible axe wasn't his. The moment he saw the indestructible axe, he knew that this axe had recognized a master. And the owner of the indestructible axe would definitely not be him, who possessed the good fortune mysterious yellow bead. However, deep in his heart, he still wanted the indestructible axe. If he could obtain the indestructible axe in his hand would be complete, because the remaining fragments of the indestructible axe were all on him. The indestructible axe's battle intent was already so violent. Once he used it, its power. At this moment, Ningqing saw a giant hand grabbing towards him from the void. The giant hand directly grabbed the handle of the indestructible axe. At the same time, the monstrous battle intent around the indestructible axe disintegrated. The giant hand broke through the indestructible axe's Dao Charm battle intent and went straight in. Ningqing clearly knew that the giant hand was a Dao Charm handprint, but the handprint that ignored everything still made Ningqing tremble. In the interface with slightly weaker laws, he could still stretch out his Dao Charm giant hand. But it absolutely couldn't be like this, which looked like a real person's hand reaching out and going straight in. Moreover, it could directly break the indestructible axe's terrifying battle intent. The violent power seemed to suppress the entire void, and Ningqing found it extremely difficult to take a step back. The violent power seemed to suppress the entire void, and Ningqing found it extremely difficult to take a step back. Back when he was outside the underground abyss of the Great Change Realm, he was also struck by a handprint across the endless void. Now he could see a clearer handprint of Dao runes. Ningqing understood that these two handprints didn't come from the same person. Moreover, the strength of this Dao Charm handprint wasn't any weaker than the handprint that attacked him. The vast of the void. How many such powerful experts were there? In the void, how many heaven, the indestructible axe? Seeing that the hand seal was about to grab the handle of the indestructible axe, the axe blade of the great axe suddenly erupted with a powerful axe line blade light. This axe line's blade light clashed with the incoming palm, causing the sky to explode with an endless Dao Charm aura, causing the laws in this instant to shatter. Cracks of unfathomable depths appeared in the void. Some cultivators who had not escaped far from Zhou Peak were blasted into nothingness by the shockwaves from the explosion of laws. Even Ningqing was swept away by this terrifying shockwave, causing his entire person to tumble out of the void. After the indestructible axe slashed out an axe trace, it turned into a shadow that even spiritual consciousness couldn't reach. Then it disappeared into the void. Even the huge handprint couldn't do anything about it. A voice suddenly appeared in the void. That voice fell into Ningqing's ears like thunder. Ningqing felt shocked and immediately brought out the starry sky wheel. He didn't know why, but so many old fogies suddenly appeared in the void. Moreover, each of them had the strength to kill him in seconds. Wait! The voice from the void fell into Ningqing's ears again. I have no malice towards you. Can you take me as your master? Ningqing had already brought out the starry sky wheel, and felt that the owner of the voice hadn't approached him. Feeling slightly relieved, he clenched the good fortune divine spear and spoke up calmly. Senior's cultivation method is indeed incredible, but I have no intention of taking you as my master. I hope Senior can forgive me. This voice sounded a bit old, but Ningqing could feel that the other party was very old. It was so old that he couldn't even imagine it. Oh, it's a pity. My Taoist name is Purple Heaven. Maybe we will meet again one day. After saying this, the voice completely disappeared. Ningqing felt that the aura of this powerhouse had completely disappeared. Only then did he feel relieved to drive the starry sky wheel. Even with his current strength, he still felt that the void was too dangerous. From this, it showed how many powerful people were hiding in the vast void. After the starry sky wheel completely left Buzhou Peak, Ningqing began to think about who this Purple Heaven was, and whether he had also participated in the Good Fortune War. Ningqing believed that with the other party's strength, he was definitely qualified to participate in the Good Fortune War. Since Buzhou Peak's Good Fortune indestructible axe had appeared, Ningqing didn't even think about snatching it. He also knew that he couldn't snatch it. This Tao monarch purple heaven reached out to snatch it from the endless void, which showed how powerful he was. The reason why he couldn't grab the good fortune indestructible axe was not because of Tao monarch purple heaven's strength, but because he was too far away. Since purple heaven dared to snatch the good fortune indestructible axe, did he also possess a good fortune treasure? Listening to his voice, he should be quite old. Ningqing shook his head and looked at the good fortune divine spear in his hand, just as he was thinking about when the good fortune divine spear could evolve and become a weapon that could fight against the indestructible axe. A thought suddenly popped up in his mind. Taoist name Purple Heaven? According to Chinese mythology, there was a Purple Heaven Palace. He knew that a peak powerhouse lived in the Purple Heaven Palace, which was Old Ancestor Hongjun. Old Ancestor Hongjun possessed the good fortune jade butterfly. Could it be? Ningqing was shocked by his own thoughts. It was just too crazy. Old Ancestor Hongjun was obviously a legendary figure, a powerhouse in myths and legends. How could he appear in the vast void, and even want to snatch the good fortune indestructible axe? Ningqing patted his head. He felt that after using the recalling Bodhi seed to heal his Tao marks, he often couldn't distinguish between reality and illusion. Seeing Buzhou Peak reminded him of Gonggong's broken Buzhou Mountain. Hearing about Purple Heaven, he thought of Old Ancestor Hongjun. Don't think about it too much and return to the Grand Essence Realm. This time, Ningqing had good luck. He quickly found someone and asked about the way to the Five Realms Void City. Not many people knew about it in the Grand Essence Realm, but many people in the Five Realms Void City knew about it. Even if the Starry Sky didn't have an artifact spirit, Ningqing still entered the Five Realms Void City a year later. Ningqing wasn't in the mood to wander around the Five Realms Void City. He immediately came to the teleportation array. He wanted to go to the Grand Essence Realm, and using the teleportation array would save him the most time. Ningqing had just paid the spirit crystals, and was waiting for the next wave of teleportation when the teleportation array not far away flashed with a circle of white light. What puzzled Ningqing was that only one person rushed out of the teleportation array after the white light flashed. This person's face was pale, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Ningqing didn't need to use his spiritual consciousness to know that this person was seriously injured. Since this person could seriously injure a Tao transformation Holy Emperor, it seemed that the person this person provoked wasn't weak. What made Ningqing take a second look was that this person was a pill deity. Ningqing's strength far exceeded the other parties, and his alchemy Tao level also far exceeded that of ordinary alchemy masters. Therefore, he could see the Tao charm of the alchemy Tao around this person. Whoever helps me send this jade slip to the Grand Essence Realm, and give it to Tao Lord Grand Essence, this ring will belong to him. I'm a Tao transformation alchemy god, and there are many precious pills in my ring. The pale man with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth didn't leave immediately. Instead, he raised a ring and a jade slip to help deliver the letter. Tao friend, hurry up and enter the teleportation array. Don't let people wait for too long. The cultivator in charge of the teleportation array impatiently urged Ningqing. Ningqing waved his hand. Wait a bit more. If I break the rules, I'll just teleport in the next round. After Ningqing said this, he walked towards the heavily injured Tao transformation Holy Emperor, who wanted to deliver the letter to him. At this moment, there were already a few people ahead of him. Tao friend, I'm willing to help. I've been to the Grand Essence Realm. So what if I've been to the Grand Essence Realm? I have a friendship with a general of the Grand Essence Tao Court Army. I'll definitely help you deliver the letter to Tao Lord Grand Essence. In order to fight for the right to deliver the letter, a group of people started to compete. If this wasn't the teleportation palace of the Five Realms Void Marketplace, it wasn't impossible for them to start fighting. Before the Tao transformation Holy Emperor could speak, the teleportation array flashed with white light again. The Tao transformation Holy Emperor's face went even paler. Ningqing squeezed through the crowd and walked in front of him. Without hesitation, he stuffed the jade slip and storage ring into Ningqing's hands. You hurry up and help me deliver this to the Tao Lord of the Grand Essence Realm. Haha, let me see who has the guts to deliver this to the Grand Essence Realm. A mocking voice sounded and two men and one woman walked out of the teleportation array. The moment the three of them walked out, the hall fell silent. One of them was a Tao Essence Divine Emperor at the second step, and the other two were Tao Transformation Holy Emperor Tertiary stage. With such a powerhouse speaking, who would dare to send a letter? That would be courting death. The cultivators surrounding the Tao Transformation Holy Emperor all moved away. Only Ningcheng and the pale-faced Tao Transformation Holy Emperor were left. Ningcheng didn't care about the three. His spirit sense broke the restriction on the jade slip and scanned inside. There were only 7 words on the jade slip: seeking help, grand beginning Lu Dongsa. Ningcheng's heart jumped. If he had a friend in the grand beginning realm, it would be Lu Dongsa without a doubt. Lu Dongsa was open-minded and helped him a lot. Even when the Tao court army invaded the Grand Essence realm, Lu Dongsa gathered a group of primordial chaos experts and rushed to the Grand Essence realm to help. But Lu Dongsa was the president of the Grand Beginning Realms Pill Association. Even the top sects wouldn't dare to do anything to him, right? Who dared to do anything to him? No matter who it was that made a move against Lu Dongsa, once he found out about this matter, he would not stand idly by. He was already planning to go to the Grand Beginning Realm to see Lu Dongsa. Now that Lu Dongsa was in trouble, he had nothing to hesitate about. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.